Our false selves tend to be pretentious, to cater to the times, the public, and others. Our true selves have nothing to do with them, and that is Tathagata. How does one find their true self? Continue to looking for your true self. 2. 寻找真正的自己. 2. Looking for your true self. 2. Xuefeng. August 5, 2012. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. In our real lives, we all play roles defined by our plots, such as government civil servants, judges, police officers, businessmen, teachers, thieves, hooligans, and so on. These are not our true selves, but unconscious roles that have been arranged precisely for everyone according to the conscious needs of the plot. So if someone were to ask who you are and you answered that you are a mechanical engineer, that would be wrong. Look into a mirror. Do you see yourself? The image that you see has to be wrong because all forms are seen inaccurately. You cannot see yourself by the image of your form. The one in the mirror is not your true self at all, but only a false representation. Compare your images at the ages of 8, 18, and 48. They are completely different because they are all illusions. None of them are really you. Look at the people around you. Some are giving impassioned speeches, holding guns tightly, making films, singing and dancing, handling official business, fighting and quarreling, catching thieves, selling goods, and some are preaching. All are just acting and role-playing. None are their true selves, but most are biological robots who are running according to their programmed procedures. Your true self is completely free. When you feel unfree, you are not your real self. You have to go to work on time to make a living, do business to make money, be a police officer to catch bad guys, or do your job according to your superiors. Then, you have to maintain the support of your parents, buy a house and a car, get married, and have children. When you make choices, you have to consider the wishes of your family and others around you, and you have to remember traditional ethics and customs. Ultimately, you can never be your true self. You have to consider the expectations, demands, and constraints of the people around you, as well as the cultural values and customs that society adheres to. You want to go one way, but you have to choose another. If you do not, then you will have to bear guilt and pain within your heart, be angry, assume a feigned manner, pose as a person with high morals, and say words and do things against your will or worse. You will face immediate problems with your food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, illness, and death. So, you would not have been living out your true self, but only playing the role that you have to play according to the program which has been designed as a social plot. You want to be free in your heart, but you must live within constraints because you are trapped within the program. Put into the plot. Cattle are driven into sheds, pigs are driven into pens, and people are driven into circles of other people. Those who are supposed to dig holes, dig them. Supposed to fly, fly. Supposed to be herbivores, graze on grass. Supposed to be carnivores, eat meat. All are hard-pressed to escape from the bonds of the three realms, but can only be bound by the 5 elements. The script requires that 99% of the people do not to know the truth, because if it were widely known, then the play could not be performed. A news story reported of a migrant whose wife had affairs at home when he was at work and eventually gave birth to a child. He did not know the truth and raised the child into adulthood, but as the child grew, he developed less and less like him. So he had a paternity test run. The DNA test result proved that the child was not his and threw him into a whirlpool of pain and trouble. Once the truth was known, a comedy became a tragedy. King Oedipus in ancient Greek mythology and legend married his own mother unknowingly and innocently and took her as his queen. Had he not learned the truth, he might have enjoyed his warm family, but when they learned it, the queen killed herself out of shame while Oedipus blinded himself and went into exile. Once a truth is learned, its consequences can be terrible. What would you do if you learned that you had protected something that you should have destroyed, or that you had tried to ruin something that you should have been grateful for? It would be useless at that moment, even if the pain and repentance broke your heart. A pig could not live for even a day if it knew that the reason it was bred in captivity was to be slaughtered for food. If 99% of humans knew who they really were, then our whole social system and order would collapse, and the human world as we know it would no longer exist. How do we find our true selves? Continue to looking for your true self. 3. 寻找真正的自己 3. Looking for your true self 3. Xuefeng. August 6, 2012. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. Have you watched movies or TV shows? Actors call other actors mom and dad. Are they really their parents? Of course not. They were acting and none of the roles that they played were real. They were disguised. Someone is crying. Are they really sad? Someone is killed. Is the actor really dead? No and no. They were fake and everyone is fine. Everything in the play is false and nothing is real. Otherwise, it would be unimaginable how many actors would die on a battlefield of a war scene. None are actually dead because they are only pretending to be so. Acting in movies and TV shows is acting, but how many people are acting in real life? People pledge their love to husbands and wives for whom they no longer have feelings. They defer to their bosses with smiles though they hate them inwardly. And they scold the United States viciously but rack their brains to send their children there. People lust after men or women in their sleepless nights, but then act as guards of public morality and condemn others for acting on their lust. So who is not acting, who are not actors, and who live out their true selves? The truth is that everyone acts. Why are you acting? Because survival forces you to do so. Acting is a survival skill for living. But since it is all just acting, nothing is real. Everything is false. Therefore, everything that we see in human society is false. Nothing is real because everyone is acting. You might say, it is not all acting. Some of it is real. My mother gave birth to me. That was not acting, it was real. And I will ask, your mother gave birth to you? Are you sure that she is your mother? The son had been the father and the daughter had been the mother. So who is your mother? You do not even know who you are. So how can you know that it was your mother who gave birth to you? Besides, how many mothers have you had? How many times have you been born since the beginning of time? Has the same woman given birth to you each time, and has no other women ever given birth to you? Maybe the woman who gave birth to you 500 years ago is your daughter in this life. Can you say that your daughter has never given birth to you? Therefore, it is hard to say who has ever given birth to you. Your mother, your daughter, or your lover. Of course, if we limit everything to within this life only, then of course it is your current mother who gave birth to you. When someone pointed at Mary and said to Jesus Christ, "Thy mother and thy brother seek for thee," Jesus answered, "Who is my mother or my brother? Whoever shall do the will of God, the same is my brother, my sister, and my mother." Jesus Christ was real. He was not acting. He was living out his true self. Where is your true self? As long as you want to remain a person, you will never find it or know who you really are. That is, if all your activities are centered around survival, catering to others, your society, your times, and traditional values, and if you still desire money, power, reputation, and sexual satisfaction in your mind and still want to be outstanding, to glorify and illuminate your family name, or to win glory for your homeland, as long as your mind abides somewhere or is tied by someone or something, and as long as you still have desire, demand, hatred, jealousy, resentment, fear, worry, and anxiety from within, then you will never find it either. So, how is the true self to be found? Continue to looking for your true self. 4. 寻找真正的自己 4. Looking for your true self. 4. Xuefeng. August 9, 2012. Translated by Transin and edited by Care. The universe is the big stage for life. It exists for life. It is full of life. And it is full of vigor and vitality. The levels of life are in various poses and have different expressions from low levels to high ones, and both visible ones and invisible ones. All gradually unfold and perform on the big life stage of the universe, which constitutes the magnificent and colorful great universe. From an individual life to groups of many lives, all things are designed and arranged in strict proportions. Take people, for example. Everything in our bodies is designed in proportion, such as our numbers and sizes of eyes, bones, hands, and feet. The roles and lifespans of each life and each group of lives are designed and arranged based on proportions and needs. At the same time, each life group exists in a certain program and belongs to its own species. All life survives in certain programs and will have to enter other ones after they leave their current ones. For instance, the animal world is a life program, Human society is another, and the celestial world is still another. When people depart from the human program, they will enter and run in the program of either the animal world or the celestial world. As long as one's role is fixed, as long as they run in a certain program, then none of their life is their true self because everything has been determined by the plot of a script. It is like shooting a TV series. Each actor must play a certain role according to the script plot. Even if you have some wiggle room, you will still have to follow the general script. The true self is completely free and is not subject to any outside control. If everything is done based on outside requirements rather than personal free will and is constrained by certain outside powers, then they are not the lives of true selves. In the universe, there is no total freedom except for that of the greatest creator. No life can enjoy total freedom. There are different degrees of freedom. The greater the degree of freedom is, the easier it is to find one's true self and live out their true self, and vice versa. Let us consider a pig and a human. Pigs have less freedom than humans and are subject to the restrictions and controls of humans, so pigs cannot live out their free wills. They live for humans and thus can never find their true selves. Humans have more freedom than pigs, so compared to pigs, humans can live out much more of themselves. Actually, humans in general who live in marriages with families have less freedom than those who live in the new oasis for life. The former live passively while the later are free from the shackles of marriage and family programs and free from many of the constraints of the 36-8 diagram arrays of life. Thus, they have more freedom and can live out more of their true selves. Lower life levels have less freedom and higher life levels have more freedom. For instance, each of the plant world, the animal world, the mortal world, and the celestial beings world have more freedom than the ones before them. It can be said that the worlds closest to hell have the least freedom, but those closest to heaven have the most. Therefore, one has to strive for the higher levels of life space. The highest level is heaven, and that is where true selves are. The more freedom there is, the easier it is to find one's true self. The less freedom, the less true self. In the entire universe from the material world to the non-material world, the most real place to find one's true life self is on the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world, because it is the place where life is free from all programs, is no longer playing a scenario role, and everything is self-decided. There is only the self. The designer, the arranger, the director, and the screenwriter are all the self. We can thus arrive at the conclusion that one can only find their true self in heaven. Pigs cannot find their true selves as pigs, and similarly humans cannot find their true selves as humans. The only absolute way to find one's true self is to become a super celestial being. How does one become a super celestial being? By following Tao and bringing oneness to Tao, into the consciousness of the greatest creator to achieve self-consistency. This is how we find our true selves. 广义相对论的启示. Revelations from General Relativity. Xuefeng. September 1st, 2005. Translated by Transin and edited by Care. The attraction between the Earth and the tested body has gravitational mass. Exerting force to a body, the body will produce reaction force. It resists acceleration, so the body has inertial mass. The gravitational mass and inertial mass of the same body tested in a variety of ways arrive at such a conclusion. Gravitational mass equals inertial mass. Isaac Newton believed that the measurement result of equivalence of the mass is only coincidental, but Albert Einstein found that such equivalence exists in a glorious channel that replaced Newton's theory. Galileo Galilei noted the phenomenon in his experiment that the acceleration of a body in a gravitational field is independent of its mass. In gravitational fields, bodies of different masses fall at identical speeds. The acceleration of two bodies toward each other in the same gravitational field are always equal. For example, if we were to remove all air resistance, then anything falling toward the Earth would accelerate at a constant rate of 9.8 meters per second squared. In order to explain the principle of the equivalence of gravitational mass and inertial mass, Einstein came up with his famous third hypothesis, general relativity. If an inertial system is equal to a gravitational system which is evenly accelerated, then we can introduce a uniform gravitational field into it and assume that the inertial system, will remain static. On the basis of this third hypothesis, Einstein deduced his fourth one, which is also the same in all systems. Any observer inside an accelerated running elevator will perceive a spot of light that is shining through its window at a constant speed along a level line into the elevator that lands on its opposite wall differently than an observer who is outside the same elevator. Einstein's fourth hypnosis confirms that observers inside the elevator err by neglecting the mass of energy because it is very small. However, slight changes of movements of energy can be observed near very strong gravitational fields. It has been shown that light which is close enough to the sun will be drawn toward it due to its huge mass. Thus, Einstein reached a surprising conclusion. The world in which we live is not Euclidean. That is, circles in Euclidean geometry are no longer round, parallel lines intersect or diverge, and the sums of the angles of triangles are not 180 degrees. This strange conclusion is called the geometry of the universe. 1 plus 1 cannot always equal 2. What is the speed of a photon plus the speed of a moving train? Can there be such a speed in reality? Place one atomic clock atop a mountain and another one of similar performance at the foot of the same mountain, and their measured times will gradually diverge. The one on the top of mountain will run slightly more slowly than the one at its foot. Why? Because gravitational fields alter time and space. What are the revelations of general relativity to us? Any conclusion about macrospace and time from the perception of microspace and time might be inaccurate. Any conclusion drawn from within a system can be inconsistent with one drawn from outside of it. There are natural laws in the universe which apply everywhere and always. There are differences between abstract theories and reality. Space and time are not absolute. What kind of worldview and outlook on life can we draw from these revelations? We may have been living mistakenly. That which is in our consciousness is not truth, but distorted reality. Absolutely correct doctrines, theories, and ideas from within any religious, social, or governmental system may ultimately be disproved. There are irrefutable universal laws which apply to all space and time. These laws are collectively the will of the greatest creator, Tao. No theory is absolute and eternally true. We should never believe blindly in the classical theories, but should think from the perspective of holographic order. Returning from old age to youth and advancing from youth to old age, as well as living in different spaces, is possible. No one has yet discovered all the secrets of the universe. On the contrary, we are only beginning to explore its wonders, and what we do know only scratches the surface. We are still ignorant of the meanings of time and space, so any strong opposition to new ideas, innovative approaches, and new philosophical perspectives is reactionary to the universe and to life and is a suppression of human nature. Only the concept of unifying all religions into a single uniform one is relatively correct thinking. Only the way of the greatest creator is the universal, natural law to bring salvation from human suffering at the macro level. 前往天堂的24个硬性指标 24 mandatory indices to heaven. Xuefeng. November 18th, 2018. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. The universe is not only rational, but also mathematical. Whatever does not conform to scientific principles is a fantasy, a dream. Assumptions do not confirm scientific principles because only facts and tested theories are their cores. Everything that really exists conforms to scientific principles. Everything that can be deduced logically also conforms to scientific principles, even if we cannot see that they exist. Does heaven exist, or does it not? This is quite simple, for as long as we can see the reality of heaven, or as long as its existence can be deduced logically, then we can conclude that it does. No one's description of heaven is convincing unless many people have witnessed it for themselves and can confirm it repeatedly. The 1,000-year world of heaven that I have described would not be convincing if it were only my personal description, but when I copied it onto the earth and hundreds of people not only saw it but also lived in it and experienced it, then it became time to accept its existence. Though seemed humble, it is the 1,000-year world of heaven's earthly manifestation. If you still cannot recognize these facts in front of you, then you are only proving that you are disregarding them and preferring to stay with your comfortable dreams and illusions. Everyone knows about the plane rectangular coordinate system, which has 4 quadrants, and each quadrant expresses a different nature. For example, if the first quadrant is all positive and the third one is all negative, then the first quadrant can represent heaven and the third one can represent hell. The space in which life exists is not a plain rectangular coordinate system, though, but a three-dimensional cubic coordinate system with volume, also called a complex rectangular coordinate system because it has horizontal spacetime, and this horizontal spacetime is invisible to people within three-dimensional space. Although people cannot see it, it can still be deduced in a scientific way, that is, by the imaginary number axis which is perpendicular to both our eyes and also to the x and y axis through the plane rectangular coordinate system origin. Think of it like a chopstick that is perpendicular to our eyes, and we can only see a point, though a point is clearly not its true nature. Because a virtual axis is added to the plane Cartesian coordinate system, that plane Cartesian coordinate system has become a three-dimensional one in which there are 20 quadrants. We human beings live in only one of them. The other 19 are spaces that humans do not experience or understand thoroughly as of yet, and heaven is among them. This is the scientific principle of heaven. Since heaven exists and life is so beautiful there, then of course we are all eager to go there. The question is, how do we get there? No matter who you are, a religious follower or an atheist, rich or poor, an official or a common citizen, a university professor or an illiterate, you can go to heaven by reaching its standard, but if you are substandard, then you will have to recycle through the samsara of the mortal world, the animal world, or even the livestock world. Here are the 24 mandatory requirement indices. Freedom from debts. Accumulation of merits and virtues. Freedom from worldly ties. Freedom from troubles and annoyances. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from grief. Freedom from worries. Freedom from fears. Possession of nothing. Having a carefree mind. Neither complaining nor resenting. Distance from anger and loss of temper. Lack of envy for others. Lack of negativity and pessimism. Never comparing oneself to others. Never regarding oneself as correct. Never arguing with or contending with others. Keeping a peaceful and joyous mind. Having a fondness for playing. Having no special relationship with anyone. Sharing everything with others. Having upbringing, self-cultivation, and self-restraint. Lacking a mind but showing a nature. Freedom from ego. No matter who you are, as long as you meet these 24 requirements listed above, then you have reached the standard and you will undoubtedly go to heaven. There is no need for ascetic practices, meditation, praying in churches and temples, understanding the classics, taking someone as your master, burning joss sticks, or even kowtowing and worshiping. On the other hand, if you do not meet the standards, even if you have read all the classics wholeheartedly, have self-cultivated and self-improved for thousands of years, are wealthy in knowledge, are a super master, have been preaching all your life and have thousands of followers, are eloquent enough to fully understand the classics, and no matter how much you have contributed to the world, then please accept my apology because you are not and will not be heaven-bound. It is easy to see that heaven is an ideal society, but why is it so ideal? The reason is that every life can enjoy its pleasure fully. If one who was unable to meet the standard were to enter heaven, then how could the others be guaranteed the freedom to enjoy their pleasure of life fully? That would be impossible. Heaven does exist, and the road to it is clear. Go there or do not. The decision is yours. 一团有关性的迷雾. A cloud of fog about nature. Xuefeng. November 18th, 2019. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. The universe is a stage for nature, and everything and all phenomena are nature's dances. The true essence of Buddhism is, an enlightened heart is perceptive to nature, perceptive to Buddha. The main theme of the Bloodstream sermon by Master Bodhidharma was that nature, same word as sex in Chinese, is Buddha and Buddha is nature. Without the perception of nature, all teachings of Dharma are demonic talks, and all practicing of magic is demonic conduct. The sixth patriarch, Huineng's The Platform Sutra says, who would know that our nature, essence of mind, Tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change? Who would have thought that all things are manifestations of our nature? From this point of view, we should follow our nature. If so, willfulness is right, and the wayward person is dictated by willful nature, But reality tells us that willful people cannot become immortal or Buddha. To follow one's nature, but not be willful is a contradiction. This is the fog about nature. Let's take Jiaoyi, Lixin, and Tianxin as examples to analyze willfulness. Jiaoyi is weak-willed, Lixin is medium-willed, and Tianxin is strong-willed. Weak-willed, people have their own cognition and ideas about everything, and they always include contradictions and conflicts with Tao. They always want things to develop according to their own wishes, but because they have awe in their hearts, they are still willing to yield even when they are unhappy. Therefore, they can still walk on the way of Tao. Medium-willed people know that they are wrong, but they have strong self-esteem and easily drift between Tao and the mortal trail. If their self-esteem is well protected, they can merge into Tao. If their self-esteem is damaged, they will deviate from the Tao and move toward the trail. Strong-willed people are desperate to act according to their own wishes. Although they might know that they are wrong, their emotions exceed their rationality and they are unwilling to comply with Tao, let alone succumb to it. Wayward people have generally been spoiled since they were young and have experienced too little frustration in their lives. How does one escape from this nature fog? All speech and behaviors are caused by the trends of nature, and nature is the strongest driving force. Let us observe everything in nature, the loftiness and erecting of mountains, the fickleness and flowing of water, the birth and growth of plants in spring and summer, the fighting and killing of animals, and the fighting and robbing in the human world. All are the deductions of nature. From this point of view, following one's nature and willfulness are both not only problematic, but also dangerous, just like wolves, insects, tigers, and leopards following their natures, and kudo, vine, vitex, and thorns that are willful. From this, the sixth patriarch Xuefeng, who would know that our nature, essence of mind, tathagata, suchness, is intrinsically pure. Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from becoming or annihilating? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically self-sufficient? Who would have thought that our nature is intrinsically free from change? Who would have thought that all things are the manifestation of our nature, are also problematic? The self-nature is not pure. It has birth and annihilation, and it cannot produce everything. Follow one's nature. But what kind of nature? The nature of a devil or that of Buddha? The nature of beasts or that of humanity? Willful, but to follow what will? To follow the will of nature, or to follow that of self? To follow the collective commonality or individual's personality? If you want to become a cat, then you must catch mice when you see them, otherwise you will not be a cat. If you want to become an immortal, then you must follow the immortal nature strictly, or you cannot become one. A cat is not a cat if it is compassionate when it sees a mouse. An immortal is no longer an immortal if his or her heart moans and laments when he or she sees marriages and funerals, or weeping and crying in the mortal world. In order to become a Buddha, one needs to perceive nature, but must not follow one's nature and be willful. If you want to go to heaven, then you also need to perceive nature, but you must not follow human nature and be obsessed with the debauchery of mortal life and the passing clouds in the physical world. 我与魔王的又一次对话. Another conversation with the king devil, Satan. Day form celestial. December 11th, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. It was 3 o'clock on the morning of December 11th, 2019 when I passed through a space-time tunnel and entered the palace of the king devil. I saw how brightly it was lit and that it was radiating a brilliant illumination. Splendid and magnificent, grand yet solemn, and the guards in front of the door were all handsome, spirited, brave, and mighty. In the palace, a guard stood every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps. Handsome men and beautiful women walked in and out, and everything was in order. When I came to the gate of the palace, one of those enchanting women came to greet me and told me that the king knew I was coming and was waiting for me in the hall. After passing through many corridors, we finally entered his hall as I then gazed upon a jade-red throne at the top of several dozen steps. It was inlaid with countless gems that were crystal clear while radiating colorful and dazzling lights. On the throne sat a beautiful, peerless man with an imposing appearance, handsome, natural, and divine. 16 women stood beside him, and they were all extremely beautiful, sexy, charming, and glamorous. The ground and the walls were all made of pure gold, magnificent and impeccable. The king devil stood and looked down upon me from a high place and asked, "How are you, Dayform Celestial? Have you come here to surrender to me, or to steal my magic?" I stood below, looking up at him with a smile, and replied, "I am surely here to find fault with you." The king devil laughed. "You tiny celestial dare to find fault with me. It is very courageous of you. Is there a problem?" I replied cautiously, "Most worthy of gods who penetrates everything, how could I be qualified to find fault with you? I would not dare even if I had 100,000 times my courage. It is just that I missed you, so I just decided to drop by and ask for a cup of tea." Lies. The king devil feigned anger and turned his head with a growl. Then he smiled and tried to persuade me, "Dayform Celestial, why not come here to enjoy my glory and wealth and forget about your tireless task of reaping ripe crops? Even if you could go to the celestial islands in the future, how could it ever be as glorious as my palace?" Rather than answering him directly, I decided that this would be a good time to answer a question with a question. "Most worthy of gods, you have neither thieves nor robbers here, so why do you keep such tight security at your door? A guard at every third step and a sentry at every fifth. They are so majestic, they show how powerful I am, and I just like having them," the king devil replied. "But there are no blue skies or white clouds here, nor trees, flowers, or grass. It is all jewels." "I still think that the celestial world is better," I continued. The king devil replied leisurely, "It seems that you have not escaped from your mortal world. What do you think of my women here? The most beautiful, enchanting, and sexy women anywhere. This is the Western vision of paradise. Remember the Garden of Eden? It was created by me. The blue skies, white clouds, green mountains, blue water, wildflowers, and countless rare and exotic fruits. But Adam and Eve could not enjoy its blessings. Did humans not ruin it?" I was a little puzzled and asked a little confused, "Is the God in the Bible really you?" The king devil then asked, "The whole world is under my rule. Other than me, are there any other gods? Then the God that all mankind has worshipped for thousands of years is you? Are you not afraid that the greatest creator will punish you?" "The greatest creator will never punish me because it is my dedicated burden to maintain the dynamic balance of life in the universe. In the human world and in hell, I have the right to do whatever I want. Only Jesus and you, Dayform Celestial, keep ruining my plans. Jesus has been punished and driven away by me, and you will have no better luck? So, one of my eyes is blind. Is this your punishment for me? I like your lecherous character, so I just punished you slightly. Maybe I will blind your other eye. Do you believe me?" "I surely believe you, but most worthy of gods, I also have my mission, and I cannot help myself. Besides, I only take 1 or 2% of human lives away, or as few as 1 in 1,000 or even 1 in 10,000, and I am not going against you. You will not be cruel to me, will you?" The king devil said with a serious face, "Do not pretend to be pitiful here. Do not wish for me to be compassionate. Justice has long arms, so do not dream of escaping from my net of justice. I will chase you and all of your Chanyuan celestials and exhaust them, and you will all continue to reincarnate obediently." I was a little bit depressed and complained, "Most worthy of gods, is it your rhythm that you will kill everyone?" "Nonsense," the king devil said a bit angrily. "When have I killed anyone? I have never hurt a fly. The situation and results of every life are for their own sake, and they cannot blame me for anything. In that case, can I still have hope and opportunity to take some people to heaven, can I?" I asked innocently. "While the priest climbs a foot, I climb 10. Whether you can pick them up depends on the depth of your spiritual character," the king devil answered. "Do you mean that you will no longer set up barriers to me?" I asked. "You are being delusional. Not only will I continue setting up obstacles to block you, but I will also do my best to stop you," the king devil said firmly. "How will you stop me?" I asked. The king devil told me this in detail. Shakyamuni once wanted to take many people away, and Lao Tzu used to plan secretly to take many others away, but most of them were stopped by me. Only a few dozen managed to escape. If you want to take some, it will not be more than 200 or 300. My ways of preventing them are diverse, strange, and unpredictable. People are slaves to money, so I will stop over 80% of them with that. Then, another 5% can be stopped with the offer of power. Then reputation, status, beauty, affection, and love will stop another 7% to 8%. Then, I will use poverty, hunger, war, illness, fear, death, and so on to stop 7% to 8% of them. Finally, the Psychedelic Academy will make your remaining members drunk on gong, magic arts, and powerful spells. That will stop most of the remaining ones. If necessary, I will make a few godlings appear in the world to show supernatural powers and magical arts to people in order to confuse those who have chosen you. Do the math. How many are left for you to take away? These are just my open methods. I also have countless secret tricks. What are those secret tricks? You, most worthy of gods, could you tell me a few? I begged sincerely. Dayform Celestial, you want me to reveal my mysteries by negligence without knowing them? You underestimate me too much. Do not play on your cleverness. Small tricks in front of me. Can I tell you my secret tricks? If I told them to you, would I still be the king devil? Thank you for your teaching, but I have a request. I have only reaped 200 or 300 Chanyuan Celestials across more than a decade. Could you be lenient to these 200 or 300 Chanyuan Celestials and let me take them away smoothly? I begged. You are absolutely crazy. It is your idiotic dreaming. You want to make a deal with me? Do you think I am a human? I am a god. I must abide strictly by the laws of heaven and never allow any to pass. Are you not building a home? Build one, and I will destroy it. Build another, and I will destroy it too. Build many, and I will destroy them all until you are impoverished, downhearted, lose all your confidence, and return to my devil's way. If I cannot destroy you with external forces, then I will get into your heart, your consciousness, your blood, and your bone marrow to fully mobilize your demon, animal, and human natures, so that you will guard against, be suspicious of, torture, and destroy each other, make a foul stench of your home, and eventually wear you down. I will make people call you a liar, a scam artist, a rapist, a seductive hypocrite, a villain who destroys families, and a man with the evilest of intentions. If necessary, I will use the state dictatorship machine to arrest you. Do you still have any hope for your Chanyuan Celestials to escape from my trap? Hearing what the king devil said, I collapsed to the floor feebly, as if my whole body was drained of blood. My tears rushed out. I wanted to curse the king devil. I was ready to shout out when I woke up in a cold sweat from that horrible nightmare. 个人如何顺应自然之道? How individuals should conform to the ways of nature. Xuefeng, December 18, 2019. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Kair. Introduction. The beauty and simplicity of nature can only be truly appreciated after one has experienced the richness of life. Experiencing the vicissitudes of life teaches you the truth of original nature. Directing the country high-spiritedly only to have things backfire in the end. Pitting one region against another and overcoming all obstacles. These are all totally unnecessary. Surrender to the way of nature. Be content with the status quo and accept reality. Nothing is controlled by man. Everything is determined by nature. If it is predestined, it will appear eventually. If it is not, do not insist upon it. Blessings come, enjoy them. Suffering comes, bear it. I will accept with pleasure whatever the greatest Creator arranges for me, neither worrying, complaining, getting angry, nor with rage. If there is no sea, I will admire the rivers in front of me leisurely. If there are no rivers, I will take company with streams. If there are no streams, I will just wait for the rain to fall from the sky. If I have a bad fate, then I will not complain about anyone because I have enjoyed too many blessings for the too few merits from my previous lives. If there is no one to help me on my journey of life, I will not blame anyone because I was too selfish and did not establish good ties along my way. Karma is perfectly accurate, so I will eat coarse grain every day, live in thatched huts, and wear patched clothes, but my heart will remain calm and my mind will be relaxed. Do not be jealous or envious. You have your heavenly plan and I have my serenade. You are beautiful and charming but suffer a harsh life. I have an unsatisfactory look but boast a heart of gold. You are earth-shaking and cloud-blowing while I am content with poverty and am devoted leisurely to Tao. You have many guests and your place is crowded with people and vehicles, but I only communicate with the spirit of heaven and earth. You live with the debauchery of villas and luxury cars, but I live with bright moons and gentle breezes. Grass never envies the richness of peony. Weeping willows never envy the fullness of fruit trees. Everything is arranged appropriately, and I neither envy nor admire anyone. Never make excessive demands. Demanding that your cat guards your house, that your dog plows your field, that your rooster lays eggs, or that your sow gives milk would all be against the ways of nature and therefore fruitless. Some things are born with purpose, others are born with talent. There is neither a panacea for all diseases, nor perfect sages and saints. Command neither your superiors nor your subordinates excessively, neither parents nor children, neither husbands nor wives, and of course, neither brothers, sisters, friends, lovers, neighbors, nor other relatives. Green. Swaying bamboo benefits your mind. That is enough. Do not command bamboo to bear dates for you. When someone cooks for you, that is enough. Do not demand that your dish be both delicious and colorful. It is enough to have someone to accompany you on your journey. Do not expect them to fulfill all your desires. Do what you can without taking risks. He who has no diamond should not undertake to cut glass. What will happen when you load 3 tons onto a truck that is made for 2 tons, or if you drive on a curved mountain road at 120 kilometers per hour? What if you pour an entire pot of boiling water into a drinking glass? What if you have only 200,000 yuan in your pocket, but you want to buy a 1 million yuan building? Everyone is like a container which can only hold a certain amount. If that amount is exceeded, either the container will burst or serious waste will occur. If you can only carry 80 caddies, but you want to carry 100 of them, you will be crushed. Therefore, we must do everything within our capability to not take such risks. Watch cheerfully as others run companies effortlessly, but do not imitate them. Watch neighbors build high-rise buildings, but do not chase them. Watch others become internet celebrities, but do not follow them. Watch others send their children to study abroad, but do not send yours. You must weigh your own abilities. If you do not have enough abilities, then do not be too ambitious. Always do what you can, never attempt to do what you cannot. Non-action means non-contention. The way of nature has arranged everything in an orderly manner. Whether it is a dog or a cat, a hawk or a chicken, a peach or an apricot, or a man or a woman, everything is arranged and predetermined. Everything is born. In beehives, the queens, drones, and workers are all determined at birth. Their purposes are not chosen by democratic voting, nor can any bee who wants to become a queen through their own hard work become one. The queen needs to hold no meetings with groups of her subordinates to discuss and arrange daily affairs. Each bee does what it is destined to do, and all divisions of labor are clear and orderly. The same is true in human society. The role of each person has been decided long ago. If you are predestined to be a president, then you cannot be a craftsman. If a beggar, then you cannot become a billionaire. If a commoner, then you cannot become a saint. If a thief, then you cannot become a hero with immortal fame. Some people are natural organizers and leaders, while some are destined to be imprisoned. No one's life from birth to death is up to themselves. You can only decide to do what is predestined. It is next to impossible for you to change or achieve anything substantial by your efforts. Only peach trees can bear peaches. No matter how hard they work, they will never bear pomegranates. No matter how hard they study and research, even if they rack their brains and fail to eat and sleep, flies will never produce honey. So practice non-action, set no goals for yourself, think nothing about becoming a rich celebrity, do not expect to become a pianist or any musician, let alone think about how to make yourself a returning Jesus or a Ziwei saint. Every day just do what you should do right on that day, take things as they are, associate with others by following predestined relationships, act in accordance with your nature, and take advantage of opportunities as they arise. Do not contend with anyone. It is of no use. If it should be yours, it will be yours. If it should not be yours, you will not get it by contention. Point 6. Do not insist. Do not hold. Many parents make plans and arrangements for their children and do not want their children to lose at the starting line. What is their result? Children who are forced by their parents will definitely lose at the finish line because they will have pulled up seedlings to help them grow and will have violated the way of nature. Qin Shi Huang wanted to pass the country from his generation to his progeny after unifying the six kingdoms, but Qin II lost his state power and Qin III never appeared. Many people want to pass their family business or their career that they have earned through their hard work onto their children, but the results often backfire. Many people try their best to make their spouses loyal to themselves after they get married. But what happens? 95% of men cheat and 95% of women suffer by attempting to toss their husbands' mistresses out. Those who hold it lose it. Those who make it spoil it. Do you want to control something in your hands firmly? Do you want to spare no effort to defend your treasure? That is whimsical, ignorant, and foolish because nothing can be held or controlled indefinitely by anyone. You had better follow nature and let water flow naturally. 7. Be as good as you can regardless of where it will lead you. Melons' pedicels fall when their fruit ripens and channels form when water flows. When we say that all things are destined and have been arranged long ago, we mean that there are rules and principles for everything and they run in accordance with unchanging procedures for thousands of years. That is, a person's current state is caused by their past thoughts, words, and actions. If they have been doing evil all the time, then there is no doubt that they will be destined to go to hell unless they rein in on the brink of the precipice and repent thoroughly of their misdeeds. If they have been doing good and accumulating virtue, then they will undoubtedly be destined to go to heaven because karma is a program. Whatever we enter into this program, it will feed corresponding results back to us. This is called destined by heaven. This is called the way of nature. Therefore, make dedications throughout your life and neither ask nor care about their results because the program will run and arrange things according to them. When melons ripen, their pedicels fall off. Do not doubt that when quantitative changes reach saturation, qualitative change will definitely follow. What matters is that we stick to these changes for many years or even for the rest of our lives. If this life is not enough, we should continue to do so in our future lives. 8. Have unrestrained imagination and fly freely. The way of nature controls everything except our imagination. Beggars can imagine that they are royalty and singles can imagine that they have 100 spouses. Anyone can have sex with anyone they want to within the world of their imagination. Mortals can imagine themselves appreciating and enjoying heaven, and you can imagine yourself taking the sun away or becoming a wild goose flying in the sky. Whatever you think, this is our free will bestowed to us by the greatest Creator. No matter what you think, you will neither be punished nor rewarded. It is even okay if you beat someone up in your imagination. You just need to make yourself happy and satisfy your wishes. None of these imaginings will be input into the causal program. Therefore, you can be unrestrained and fly freely. Here, I would like to point out that motivation and imagination seem to be the same thing, but there is an essential difference. Motivation is an inner activity that you want to put into practice. Imagination is an ongoing or completed conscious activity for self-entertainment. Conclusion. To conform to nature is to conform to objective laws and natural principles, and to never impose one's own will on them in order to change anything artificially. Follow the way of nature, and everything will be harmonious and people will be happy about everything. Go against it, and all things will be disorderly and conflicted. There will be hurricanes, hail, drought, scorching heat, turmoil, war, plague, and famine, and people will be worried, sad, anxious, and even encounter disasters. That is to say, following the way of nature will be rewarded by Tao, violating the way of nature will be punished by Tao, and surrendering to the way of nature will ensure your place in heaven. 自然之道解析 Analysis of the Way of Nature. Xuefeng, December 15, 2019. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. The way of nature is the way of the greatest Creator, of non-action and silence, and to harmony and freedom. It is the outline and the law of the universe, and the way of heaven and Tao itself. By following the way of nature, everything would be in order. The weather would be favorable and society would be peaceful. By deviating from the way of nature, everything would be chaotic and disorderly, disasters would occur frequently, the world would be turbulent, and people would be contentious. By fighting against heaven, our suffering would be constant. By fighting against the earth and each other, our suffering would be endless. By fighting against Tao, our abyss of misery would be endless. The way of nature is profound, mysterious, and can neither be measured nor understood by human intelligence. It is full of vitality which can be neither resisted nor refused. The place that obeys it is heaven, but the place that goes against it is hell. Tsunamis, tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, gales, thunderstorms, floods, droughts, scorching heat, hail, epidemics, insect plagues, and so on in nature are all caused by human society's failure to follow nature's way and all of its warnings to mankind. Wars, turmoil, fighting, riots, revolutions, dynasties changing, diseases, hunger, and other phenomena that occur in human societies are the results of human violations of nature and are its punishments to mankind. How has human society deviated from the way of nature? Things that bring trouble, pain, anxiety, sorrow, horror, fear, sadness, or despair to people but cannot make them happy, joyous, free, or blessed deviate from the way of nature. I hereby affirm that the developments and inventions of science and the inventions and applications of all tools do not deviate from the way of nature. The 5 main things that deviate from it are as follows. Legal systems with laws, judges, and lawyers have all violated the way of nature. Western societies that govern themselves with artificial laws deviate from the way of nature. Look at the plants, animals, and insects. They have never needed laws or legal systems, but are they not running well? With judges and lawyers, human societies lose their natural attributes and human nature becomes forced into distortion. The people who want to build several houses on their own land are regulated and restricted, and people's attributes of truthfulness, goodness, and beauty are restricted and controlled by laws. The existence of countries violates the way of nature and is equivalent to artificially building a high wall to imprison people within this big prison called nationhood. Migratory birds migrate freely, so why cannot people? According to the principles of nature, human societies must have governments, but just as bee and ant queendoms have bee and ant queens, governments should only be symbols to unite people's hearts, not organizations to manage and regulate them. When governments expand out of proportion and implement their wills upon every aspect of human life, then they completely deviate from the way of nature. The more problems they create, the more bitter their people become, and this is where those governments develop strong wills and subvert the way of nature. Fewer problems exist and people live in peace and contentment when the government has complied more with the way of nature. Our marriage systems deviate from the way of nature because they bind couples together forcibly. They conform to neither the laws and principles of nature nor to those of human nature. If they did, then there would be no phenomena of cheating and betrayals. The thoughts and practices of trying to change other people and their natures go against the ways of nature, such as mutual torture and devastations between married couples, mutual condemnation and strife between political parties, mutual hostility and competition for believers among religions, mutual restrictions and sanctions between countries, and human transformations of nature, such as reclamation of the sea, deforestation of forests, building hydroelectric dams, and transforming rivers, grasslands, wetlands, lakes, deserts, and so forth. All of these thoughts and behaviors violate the ways of nature. All success studies, nutrition studies, talent studies, prenatal teaching, fast learning, doctrines, truth studies, Western medicine, cloning, and so on violate the way of nature. Violations of the way of nature will definitely be punished by it. The way of punishment is to make people suffer, fear, despair, and even die through disasters. Human intelligence will attend to one thing while losing another. The way of nature is the only law that mankind should obey. People in the 1,000-year world and 10,000-year world follow it purely. So everything is peaceful, safe, warm, and satisfying there. Attempting to follow nature would confuse people. They would ask an unlimited number of questions about how issues would be handled. Without countries, who would protect us from them? Without legal systems, who would handle disagreements and resolve disputes? Without political parties, who would manage our lives? How can humans reproduce without marriages? Were people allowed to migrate without controls, would they not all move to the prosperous big cities? Without controls, would the human population not expand indefinitely? Without the police, would people not destroy the ecology and misbehave, and would bandits and robbers not be everywhere? Without strong interventions and restrictions, would we not fight for resources everywhere, and would armies not appear and vassal states not arise that would conquer and kill people everywhere? To eliminate these doubts and obtain answers, we should neither read the writings of human thoughts nor imitate the experiences of human history, but read the books without words, read the heavens, the earth, and all of nature. Were there no humans on this earth, would the kingdoms of plants, animals, and insects have any of these problems? Of course not. We would discover the principles of mutual generation and restraint of the way of nature, its principle of natural regulation, and discover that when anything goes to excesses or extremes, a restraining force always comes into being. If you think that human beings following the way of nature would move them toward the law of the jungle, then look at the state of the thousand-year world of heaven, and we will surely learn sensible, reasonable, and legal answers from it. Shenxing, the nature of celestial beings. Xuefeng, November 22nd, 2019. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Nature is the characteristics of all structures, things, and even lives. The kinds of structures present determine the kinds of natures there are. All beings have their own natures. Gods have divine ones, Buddhas have Buddhist ones, demons have demonic ones, celestials have celestial ones, people have human ones, and beasts have animal ones. All things have their own ones. Mountains have mountainous ones, lakes have watery ones, soil has an earthly one, stones have rocky ones, and trees and flowers have plant ones. The Compendium of Materia Medica introduces more than 500 medicines with each having their own medicinal properties, natures. Each of the 118 chemical elements in the periodic table have their own characteristics and natures. The differences between some lives and others, and between some things and others are determined by their structures. Different structures have different natures. In order for one kind of life to transform into another kind, its structure must be altered toward that desired end. No life's nature will change if its structure remains the same. While it is impossible to change life structures directly without genetic surgery being performed, their life structures are non-material, invisible, and intangible. It is still impossible to alter non-material life structures through surgery. To change a life structure, you must start by changing its consciousness. For example, if you want to become a celestial, then you must transform your consciousness from one of a human to one of a celestial. However, the transformation of a consciousness cannot be reached without centuries of self-improvement and self-refinement. Consciousnesses are too complicated. They penetrate into blood cells, bone marrow, time and space itself, detention information space, and even into one's life trajectory. The components of consciousnesses are enormous. It can often be very difficult to distinguish between human ones and celestial ones because they are ambiguous and specious. Unless there is a higher level of life to point out the direction, it is that the true face of the mountain Lu is lost to my sight, for it is right in this mountain that I reside. There is a shortcut through which people can become celestials, that is, to follow the celestial nature, and it is relatively simple to do this. You do not need to read books on celestial cultivation and spend your limited lifetimes trying to understand them from the principles of truth, meditation, immortality pills, praying to gods, worshiping the Buddha, or reciting the scriptures every day, because even illiterates who follow the celestial nature can become celestial beings. So, what are the natures of celestials and what are their manifestations? People can be divided into these 5 groups: ignorant commoners, laities, mortals, sages, and celestials, saints. Celestials can be subdivided into these 5 types: ghost celestials, human celestials, land celestials, deity celestials, and super celestials. Here I will only express the nature of celestials in the 1,000-year world, because this is the easiest state for people to reach. If people can follow the nature of celestials in the 1,000-year world, then they will join them to live the lives of celestials after their deaths. The nature of celestial beings is that they have the following 8 characteristics. They follow what is predestined, are open, leave things to fate, and are free and unfettered. They conduct themselves limitlessly, follow situations, and act flexibly. They are amorous yet never attach importance to affection. They possess nothing and are totally unfettered. They never do anything yet all things happen through them because they follow Tao. They feel no mercy or pity but are natural and unrestrained. They neither contend nor argue, but associate with other celestials. They behave with the elegant demeanor of a celestial being by talking cheerfully and humorously. A life with the above 8 characteristics is celestial one. If you follow their 8 characteristics, then you will possess their nature, and you will have doubtlessly become one already. Humans can never achieve any of these 8 characteristics of celestial nature, not even one of them. Of course, people occasionally show signs of celestial natures, but they are just flashes of light and disappear quickly. It is easy to understand theoretically and logically, but extremely difficult to achieve, so it is not easy to become a celestial. For example, could you follow what is predestined, be open, leave things to fate, and be free and unfettered? If you were placed in a cell where you could only eat grass roots, everyone would scold and bully you, and snakes and scorpions would be rampant. Another example would be, could you possess nothing and be totally unfettered if you knew that you were about to die? Could you be free from the worries of the people for whom and the things for which you care? Would you have no fear or regrets, and could you really be totally unfettered? As for conducting with no limit, no mercy, no sadness, those are much more difficult to achieve. Only people who are born with celestial roots can become celestial beings. As humans, you had better stop your wishful thinking. A leopard cannot change its spots, so just be an honest person. 先性解析 Analyses of the nature of celestial beings. Xuefeng, November 23, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Following that which is predestined, being open, leaving everything to fate, and being free and unfettered. Conducting yourself limitlessly, following situations, and acting flexibly. Being amorous everywhere, but never attaching importance to affection. Possessing nothing yet being totally unfettered. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao. Feeling no mercy or pity but being natural and unrestrained. Neither contending nor arguing, but walking with celestials. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of a celestial being, talking cheerfully and humorously. Here, we shall analyze each of the above natures of celestials. Following that which is predestined, being open, leaving everything to fate, and being free and unfettered. Following what is predestined is following one's luck and letting it come naturally. Being open is being bold and open-minded, but not adhering to etiquette and customs. Following what is predestined and being open means that whether you live in a 5-star hotel or a thatched house, whether you eat delicacies from the land and sea, genetically modified coarse bread, or even moldy leftovers, whether people you get along with are civilized and reasonable or completely savage and uncooperative, whether you live in a hot place with lots of mosquitoes or in a cold place lacking vitality, whether you wear brocaded famous branded clothes or torn rags, that you accept what comes to you, always have a peaceful mind, treat things with an open mind, be generous, and do not care about worldly eyes and comments. Leaving everything to fate means letting fate arrange everything. Being free and unfettered means being at ease and traveling leisurely. Leaving everything to fate and being free and unfettered means believing in Tao, in cause and effect, that what you give is equal to what you get, that everything is arranged justly by the Tao, leaving everything to the arrangement of destiny, not wanting to change anything, not wanting to obtain anything, and not wanting to achieve any purpose. When blessings are here, enjoy them. When disasters are here, bear them delightedly. Neither resent nor blame anyone. Whether in good times or adversity, always remain natural and unrestrained, free, carefree, leisurely, contented, calm as water, and smiling at your situation. Point 2. Conducting yourself limitlessly, following the situations, and acting flexibly. Conducting yourself means going forward or stopping. No limits means no boundaries. Conducting yourself with no limits means that I, Grandaunt, as long as I am not hurting any other person, society, or nature, can make myself as comfortable as I choose, and that I, Grandpa, under the same rules for proper behavior, can be as happy as I want to be. Following the situations means moving according to situations and changing according to their changes and not sticking to old systems, traditions, dogma, or the scriptures and the master's preaching. Acting flexibly means managing oneself according to situations. Following situations and acting flexibly means having no fixed precepts or rules in your mind, and that no rules and regulations are set in advance. Buddha has no set rules because they always conform to meeting situations. All affairs should be treated, handled, coped with, and ascertained flexibly. 3. Being amorous everywhere but never attaching importance to affection. Being merciful everywhere means that no matter whether dealing with people, animals, or nature, you must be merciful in words and actions, never reaching an impasse, never being merciless, but never saying never. Never attaching importance to affection means not falling into affection, not having too much affection for someone, something, an organization, a person, a party, a country, a system, or a religion. Attaching too much importance to affection will tie you to one of the aforementioned and make it impossible for you to be natural and unrestrained and therefore make it impossible for you to become immortal. 4. Possessing nothing yet being totally unfettered. Possessing nothing means owning nothing at all. Not the sky, not the earth, no real estate, no power, no reputation, no relatives or lovers, no organization. Everything belongs to the greatest creator, everything belongs to nature. So I possess nothing, I am united with the greatest creator, with Tao, with all things, and even with death itself. Totally unfettered means having no one and nothing on your mind, that you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want without hesitation, worries, or fear, and that you can stay when you want to stay and leave when you want to leave with absolutely no worries. Because you have nothing, you do not worry about thieves, robbers, people borrowing money from you, being deceived, degraded, nor insulted, nor do you even worry about death. Because you have nothing, there is nothing to contend with and nothing to guard. Whether the sky falls, the earth fractures, the sea floods the land, or the land sinks into the sea. You have no anxieties, no worries, life is like a bubble, and everything is as passing clouds. 5. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao. Never doing anything while allowing all things to happen through Tao means surrendering your life to the greatest creator and leaving your life to the management of Tao with no ideals, wishes, plans, or pursuits, but trusting that nature will arrange everything, never having any special requirements or anything special to do. You work and rest each day as the sun rises and sets, because all active dharma are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows. Accomplish doing nothing and attending to non-affairs. If it is funny, play with it. If it is not, do not. If you meet water, then erect a bridge. If you meet a mountain, then open a road. If you meet neither water nor a mountain, then build neither. Do whatever you do with joy and happiness. Drink some tea, enjoy a chat, bask in the sun, or stroll leisurely. Following Tao means taking the way of nature. Family affairs, state affairs, and world affairs are all under the arrangement of Tao. Rewards and punishment retributions and the cycles of cause and effect are neither my worries nor any of my business. Never sow in winter or pull up seedlings to help them grow in spring. When it is time to go, be unreluctant to leave. When you should be calm, do not be overambitious. Do not expect more wealth than that which you are destined to have. If you are destined to be a shepherd, then never envy princes, marquises, generals, or ministers. Everything is born, grows, will be punished, and will die by nature, so never borrow trouble. 6. Feeling no mercy or pity, but being natural and unrestrained. Feeling no mercy means that you are incapable of it, and that you can only ignore it. You see cats catching mice, lions tearing antelope apart, eagles scooping rabbits, and mantises attacking cicadas. These conditions are very cruel and make people sad, but can you do anything to stop them? Do you have a better arrangement? You know that you cannot stop them and that you do not have a better plan. You can only hold your compassion and pity. It is the arrangement of nature, so what will feeling pity accomplish? Life Genuine has pointed a great way to heaven and created a paradise mode for people, but if they will not listen or take its way, then what can we do? Therefore, look at the suffering in the world. People are crying and shouting, but never waste your energy on mercy or pity. Having no pity means not being sad. Having no mercy or pity means not suffering from pain and grief when you face situations that you are incapable of changing. Of course, we should not have the heart or feelings of gloating over misfortunes. Being natural and unrestrained means being free and easy, unconfined, unworldly, looking elegant, having extraordinary demeanors, not cringing or groveling, not crying from one's grievances, having no entanglements or obsessions, never delaying when you should surrender something or someone, never crying when you should let go, never looking back and being nostalgic when you need to leave, welcoming death with a smile, and never resisting fear. Being natural and unrestrained means that when you face frustrating or unsatisfactory situations, you will not be merciful or sad, but handle them chicly. 7. Neither contending nor arguing, but walking with celestials. Not contending means not competing with others for wealth, power, status, fame, favors, awards, victories, or strength, let alone fighting, arguing, or debating for righteousness or kindness. Not arguing means not discussing, debating, arguing, or opposing others. If you think you are right, then do what you think is right. I will not argue with you about who is right or wrong or correct or false, or about beauty, ugliness, good, or evil, but I will discuss with you about justice and wickedness. Walking with celestials means associating with people who are positive, optimistic, open-minded, and unrestrained, and who bring happiness, joy, freedom, and blessings into your life, but not with those who cry, fuss, whine, complain about grievances, think big, are ambitious, and of course those who frown, are boring, sanctimonious, prim, do not know how to play, have too much trouble, and want to bind you with codependent affection. 8. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of a celestial being. Talking cheerfully and humorously. Behaving with the elegant demeanor of celestial beings has profound meanings. Not only does it refer to having the charm, posture, and the aura of fairies, but also to surpassing the bread and milk of life by enjoying music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and flowers. It refers more to possessing corresponding survival skills and techniques, the ability and intelligence to solve one's own eating, clothing, housing, transportation, life, old age, sickness, and death problems. I once wrote 64 details of gestating the behavior and elegant demeanor of celestial beings. Please refer to it and compare it with this. Talking cheerfully and humorously means talking about the past and the present with great interest and joking and chatting freely. It should be humorous and unrestrained. Make people happy and laugh heartily to listen to what we say and do, and make people forget their troubles but feel like bathing in the sunshine as celestial beings coming to Earth and as if spring suddenly arrived in one night. There is a lot of more content about celestial nature, but if you understand the above 8 qualities, then you must be a celestial being. 人生常数生命常数宇宙平衡机制 Constants of life, and the balance mechanism of the universe. Xuefeng, August 8, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. You know it very well and very clearly in your heart, but there is nothing you can do. But you have to say what you do not want to say or do, take the way you do not want to take, and continue dealing with people with whom you do not want to deal. In the end, you will find that there is no one to either condemn or praise, because if you were placed in that background, you would do the same. When you finally see that the messenger of the greatest creator is washing the toilet, that God is being nailed to a cross, that Buddha is weeping, that the emperor is the stupidest person around, that billionaires are starving to death, that the hottest and most powerful figures in the world are thrown into jail, that those who are proficient in history become obsequious for a bowl of rice, that very hardworking people are living in poverty, that ignorant and incompetent people are living, well, and so on and so forth, then you will finally know that life and life have constants and that the universe has a balancing mechanism. Do not envy others, do not look down on anyone, let alone lament your fate and be ashamed of yourself, because everything is balanced by constants. Do not be complacent because you are fully satisfied or content, because unexpected big sticks will fall down at any time and strike you dizzy. Do not despair because of hardships either, because no one knows whether the God of happiness may come to you in the next second and your life will turn bright. I see that life's constant is working, and that is the adjustment of the universe's balancing mechanism which no force can contain. What are constants? They are quantifications, the laws of repeated operations, natural and invisible phenomena, and universal laws that exist throughout the universe. In mathematics, they include pi, the golden ratio, and the Pythagorean constant. In physics, they include standard atmospheric pressure at sea level, the gravitational constant, the mass of particles, and so forth. In chemistry, they include the molecular formula, molecular weights, melting and boiling points of everything, density, the refractive index, purity, and so forth. Since constants are universal phenomena, there is no doubt that life also has them. For example, physical death is a constant that can be changed by neither desire nor effort. The numbers of breaths and pulse beats, and the lengths of lives must also be constants. Even the number of times that one can have sex must be a constant. It is like the fact that the numbers of bones, eyes, legs, and hairs on human bodies are certain. The most difficult things to determine are the constants of life. In terms of constants, how many blessings will a person enjoy? How many hardships will they endure? How much wealth will they have? Will they be respected and loved by many people? How much good luck will they have in adventures with the opposite sex? How many children will they have? How many people will they meet and love? Will they travel abroad? Will they live in a villa? Will they become officials, and how high will their ranks be? What kind of lives will they experience? And will they become a Buddha, a celestial, or whatever? These are all constants. Do you believe in life's constants? I do. Yesterday, I went to the Kamloops Hospital, which is more than 230 kilometers away. This is a large, high-end hospital where most people wore masks because doing so during this epidemic is said to reduce their risk of infection, but I did not wear one because I believe in life constants. My creed is, if you were supposed to die, then you would die even if you wore a mask that covered your entire body completely. If you were not supposed to die, then you would not die, even if you were immersed in a tank full of viruses and wanted to. What should happen will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide. If it did not work this way, then pi would not be the constant of 3.141, 592, 653, 589, 793, 238, 462, 643, 383, 279, 502, 88, but maybe 3.2. Is this possible? Of course not. From this, I think of the balance mechanisms of the universe. Energy conservation is a common sense that we all understand. The sum of all positive and negative energy in the universe is always its equilibrium point, 0. Anything that reaches an extreme will always return to it, and the development and change of anything is never allowed to escape too far from it. We figured out this truth from the phenomena of human life. If you enjoy too much when you are young, then you will suffer when you are old. If you talk too much, then you will be shut up in the end. If you eat too much fish and meat and waste much on the dining room table, then one day you will be hungry or might even starve to death. Those who beat others will eventually be beaten, and those who hurt others will eventually be hurt. If you own too much, then you will be fretted continuously, even to the point of having to spit out all you have. If you are too complacent, then you are bound to look bad in the end. In front of constants, gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings cannot escape from being constrained, let alone human beings. Saddam Hussein, the commander-in-chief of the Iraqi armed forces, never expected to be hanged when he flaunted his might. Do you think that you are more powerful than Saddam was? Is there a way to balance? Yes, that is, the way of the greatest creator, the way of nature. Is there a way to escape from being constrained by constants? Yes, that is, selfless dedicating and giving. 真相是神的频道. Truth is the channel of God. Xuefeng. December 8th, 2020. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. The more truth you know, the closer you are to God. The more falsehoods you know, the closer you are to Satan. To face the truth is to face God. If you do not want to face the truth, you can only face Satan. Those who reveal and spread the truth are the sons and daughters of God. Those who conceal and obliterate it are of Satan. What makes people happy and joyous must be true. What makes them worried and painful must be false. If people live in happiness, joy, delight, pleasure, blessedness, they live in truth. If they live in trouble, pain, anxiety, sorrow, and fear, they live in falsehoods. The truth is often hidden in illusions and falsehoods. We can only understand the truth from our own actual feelings. You cannot know the truth by scriptures, nor by masters' preachings, ideals, beliefs, faith, piety, affection, conceptual logic, reasoning, nor by information and reports on TV networks, let alone by your parents' and teachers' words and deeds. Only your own inner feelings will teach you the truth. It is like durian and stinky tofu. Any description from the outside world is not its real taste. You can only know that by tasting it yourself. You should have a taste of the truth. The truth is not horrible. What is horrible is to be perplexed by the false. To make your life better and enter heaven, you must face the truth. The more you escape the truth, the more miserable your life will be, and the more you will slide into an abyss. This world is completely shrouded in falsehoods. Everyone lives in them. The truth, spread by people in falsehoods, is also a kind of high-level falsehood. If you listen to and believe it, then you will be fooled by the devil. All concepts are shackles, barriers, and obstacles to finding the truth. The more concepts you learn from the human world and the more human-created truth, the further away you will be from the real truth. If you want to learn, just learn from all the things and phenomena in nature, because only they can reveal the real truth to you. In terms of enlightening value, the most valuable words of mankind in this session belong to the words of Jesus Christ, Buddha Shakyamuni, and celestial Lao Tzu. So go and find the road to the truth in the Bible, the Diamond Sutra, and the Tao Te Ching. These are the most direct revelations. If you are really too stubborn to find the truth, then try to get rid of troubles, pain, anxiety, sorrow, fear, and death. The way to happiness, joy, freedom, blessedness, and eternal life is to let the greatest Creator live in your heart. Trust the greatest Creator completely, then go forward by following your feelings and the greatest driving force in your heart. Being true to yourself is also facing the truth. Do not deceive yourself. Nothing about you has anything to do with others. If you think that everything about yourself is caused by others, then you must be living in falsehood, and you have not yet found the real truth. 什么样的环境招来什么样的生灵? 55. What kind of environment attracts what kind of creatures? Xuefeng. September 21st, 2019. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. The front and rear yards of Life-Chanuan's International Family Headquarters in Canada are each more than 2,600 square meters. In 2017, they were both highly covered in debris and no birds visited either of them. In 2018, I started to clean both yards, but as our lawnmower was small, the thatch in the backyard was not cleaned up and birds continued to remain distant, but several Canadian geese and crows were attracted to the front yard. In 2019, I bought a larger mower and cleared both yards to be green and lush. Then in the spring, many unknown birds appeared, especially hummingbirds. A flock of crows came to the lawn for food and stayed for a long time. Sometimes, the lawns housed more than 70 birds at once. In spring and summer, more than a dozen Canadian geese began foraging for food in the front yard, and recently in autumn, more than a dozen Canadian geese began to leisurely forage in the backyard. From the above phenomenon, I came to the revelation that the types of environments will determine the kinds of creatures who will be attracted to them. The former third branch of Life-Chanuan in China was located in a valley, and after more than a year of environmental renovation by our Chanyuan Celestials, groups of chirping birds became attracted to it. From morning to night, the chirping of birds had become endless, and they were very beautiful to hear. It was really a case of birds singing and flowers giving forth their fragrances. Do you remember the few persimmon trees from which we ate most of the fruit, leaving the remainder for the birds? Then we planted a few acres of wheat, all of which the birds ate. Someone suggested that we should not let the birds eat all of our wheat, but I countered that it did not matter who ate it. Let the birds eat it. As a result, There were more and more birds, and they settled in the third branch in pairs and groups all year round. The type of environment determines the types of creatures that will be attracted to it. Mountains attract tigers, grasslands attract wolves, jungles attract lions and leopards, stagnant pools attract crocodiles, wetlands attract migratory birds, the Gobi Desert attracts lizards, green mountains and blue waters attract good weather, poor mountains and stale waters attract violent storms, bad emperors attract treacherous villains, wise emperors attract upright ministers and righteous men. Brothels attract whoremasters, galleries attract artists, casinos attract gamblers, and battlefields attract soldiers. A large number of phenomena in nature and human society prove that the type of environment will determine the kind of creatures that it will attract. Environments are divided into natural ones and spiritual ones. Natural ones are like this, so what about spiritual ones? The answer is the same. The type of spiritual environment determines the types of gods and deities who will be attracted to it. If the spiritual environment is like a garden of flowers, then it will attract bees and butterflies. But if it is more like stinky shit, then it will attract flies. There is a large number of stories about soul possessions among the people. This kind of phenomenon definitely exists. As for the type of soul possession, that is determined by the spiritual environment of the possessed. Those who deliberately mystify things will be possessed by ghosts or monsters. Those who talk about spirits and deities will be possessed by evil spirits. Those whose spiritual environments are pure will attract angels and bodhisattvas. And those whose spiritual environments are extraordinary and spotless will be possessed by gods. Understanding the above principles, we can explain some phenomena, such as earthquakes, volcanoes, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, plagues, turmoil, fires, and so on. There must be something wrong with people's spiritual environments in those places because each of those environments can invite either auspiciousness or disasters. Similarly, if people often encounter villains, bullies, insults, ugly scenery, misfortunes, and disasters, and unhappy people or things, then needless to say, it is their own spiritual environments that have gone wrong. The problem is caused by their own spiritual environments. From this, we can further understand the truth of how to be human beings. If we want nature to make the weather smooth, then we must love her and cherish her life. If we want to make our life safe and smooth, then we must have kind thoughts in our hearts, not thoughts of hurting others and taking rash actions, but of restraining our greed. If you want to attract butterflies and bees, then you must grow flowers in your soul garden. If you want to attract birds, plant more fruit trees. And if you want to attract noble people, be grateful. Have you ever seen God with your own eyes? Have you ever seen the Buddhas? Have you ever seen a fairy? No? Do you know why you have not seen them? The reason is that the environment of your mind is not worthy of doing so. I have a saying, absolutely beautiful things can only be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives. Pigs only deserve to live in pig pens, and regular people are only worthy of struggling in the world of suffering. If we want to enjoy our lives in fairy worlds, then our spiritual environments must match the fairy world environment. The Queen Mother of the West would never invite anyone randomly to a banquet at the Immortal Peach meeting. Understanding this, the type of environment determines the types of things, beings, and deities that will be attracted to it, and the main task of a person's life is to create their own beautiful natural and spiritual environments instead of devoting all their time and energy to study, work, and forming connections. It is really the case of fragrances will attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts will be frequented by celestial beings, and, once the roots are established, the way will grow therefrom. 唯有破釜沉舟者，才有希望打开天国之门. Only those who burn bridges behind them have hope to open the gate to heaven. Xuefeng, May 25, 2018. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. The ones who burn the bridges behind them are people who walk forward with all their hearts without having a way to retreat. Jesus Christ warns us, "He who looks back while holding the plow in his hand is not worthy of entering the kingdom of God." The world, where human beings dwell and live, is a kind of program, and this program is only suitable for human survival. If you want to live in the heaven where gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings live, you must escape from the world's program. Without leaving behind the world's program, it is absolutely impossible for you to enter the space of gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings. From the world to the realm of the gods, that is, the kingdom of heaven, people should not think and arrange everything with human thinking. If you think and plan with human thinking, you can only go round and round in the world and never get out of the cave of silken web, which is the world's program. There are 36 8-diagram arrays in the world's program, and these 36 8-diagram arrays tightly restrain people in the space where they live. If one wants to escape from the 36 mazes, it is as difficult as to cut one's skin and open the flesh and break the heart, and it is almost as a rebirth from the ashes. Do you dare to burn the bridges behind you? If you dare not and don't want to, you should never fantasize that you can get out of the 36 8-diagram arrays, eliminate the cycle of reincarnation, and enter the heavenly world of gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings. When can one's potential be maximized? Answer: only when there is no retreat and tomorrow's food and shelter are still unavailable. If you have a plan to retreat and you have food and shelter for tomorrow, then your potential will never be maximized. People are inert, and it is human nature to pursue ease. Once a person has a stable income and a comfortable environment, it is difficult for them to burn the bridges behind them and create a new world. People have anxiety, sorrow, and fear, and it is precisely this kind of negative, tragic psychology that hinders one's full use of his potential. Not to mention giving up all your possessions to pursue your dreams. Just the thinking of possessing nothing is enough to scare you away, let alone burning the bridges behind you. Once a person is born in the world, he is always struggling to possess knowledge, possess skills and techniques, possess marriage and family, possess children and grandchildren, possess beauty, possess real estate and vehicles, possess kinship, friendship, and love, possess money, possess rights, possess fame, and a stable job, etc. The tragic reality is that when people die, they possess nothing. Even if you own a grave, it will disappear in a short time. May I ask, where are our possessions? Are we still qualified to control what we once had? What if we ask a man in his teens or 20s, is life long? The answer must be that life is long, and there is a lot of time to squander freely. But if we ask a person in his 60s or 70s, is life long? The answer must be that life is too short. Life is only a moment, just a dream. There is not much time left to spend freely. Is your life wonderful? If you have never burned the bridges behind you, don't say that your life is wonderful. Have we ever seen a donkey with a wonderful donkey life? Have we seen pigs and sheep with wonderful pig and sheep lives? Of course, as pigs or donkeys, some of them may say, "My pig life is wonderful," and "My donkey life is wonderful." But in the eyes of people, no matter how fat a pig is, how stubborn a donkey is, their life is not wonderful at all. It is just a tragedy. What about people? Have you ever been wonderful? You have never burned the bridges behind you. Where does the wonder come from? If a person who confines his life to only a short period of 70 to 80 years, and finally goes to the end of his life in his waning years with nostalgia, regrets, and fears, is it not a tragedy? Don't comfort yourself anymore. Life is a tragedy. Who dares to say that the pig's life is not a tragedy? Who dares to say that the life of a donkey is not a tragedy? So, dare you say that human life is not a tragedy? If anyone who cannot see where he is going after death, he lives in vain. Even to live in vain, they have to go on, but to live helplessly. If you do not want to live your life in vain, you must follow the teachings of Christ Jesus, Buddha Shakyamuni, and Celestial Laozi. Don't follow the teachings of people like Confucius, etc. The thinking of Confucius is entirely human thinking, and it has not risen to the thinking level of gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings at all. If you learn from people, you will follow their way, and you can only be humans. Only by learning from gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings can you follow their way and get out of the 36 mazes, see where you are going after death, and turn your tragic life into a happy life. Of course, if you learn from demons, ghosts, spirits, and monsters and follow their way, you can also walk into their world. I would like to remind you that in today's world, there are more and more demons, ghosts, spirits, and monsters, and they are all busy looking for members to expand their territory. How can we practice and fully realize the teachings of Christ Jesus, Buddha Shakyamuni, and Celestial Laozi to achieve our best wishes and realize our ideals? That is to burn the bridges behind us and Don't look back while holding the plow in your hand. 自然之道. The Way of Nature. Xuefeng. January 28, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The way of nature is the way of the greatest creator. The way of Tao is natural. Everything that conforms to nature belongs to Tao. The way of Tao is manifested by nature. The way to enter Tao is to be natural. The way to attaining Tao is to conform to nature. The way to unite with Tao is to follow nature. Nature is the laws and principles and various existences and phenomena of the boundless universe. To follow nature means to think and act in accordance with these laws and principles, and not to artificially interfere and change its original operating programs. The way of nature is the operating program defined by the laws and principles of the boundless universe. The main path, Tao, is easy to walk on. The main path is the way of nature. The way of nature is simple and easy to walk on, smooth and soothing. All behaviors that violate nature are called going against the Tao, and going against the Tao is complicated, difficult, tortuous, and painful. People, when you feel that life is happy, joyous, free, and blessed, it proves that you are walking in the way of nature. People, when you feel that life is full of troubles, pain, anxiety, or sorrow, it proves that you are walking against the Tao. How do you follow the way of nature? Eat when you should eat, drink when you should drink, sleep when you should sleep, do when you should do, play when you should play, use when you should use, live when you should live, die when you should. Do not worry, do not get angry, do not persevere, do not expect, do not seek success, do not seek excellence, do not make plans, do not set goals, do nothing, as everything will eventually fall into place. Take things as they are, associate with others by following the predestined relations, act in accordance with your nature, take advantage of opportunities as they arise. What kind of behavior can be accounted as against the Tao? When you should eat, you do not eat. When you shouldn't eat, you eat. When you should drink, you do not drink. When you should not drink, you drink. When you should sleep, you do not sleep. When you shouldn't sleep, you sleep. When you should act, you take no action. When you shouldn't act, you act. When you should play, you do not play. When you shouldn't play, you play. When you should use something, you do not use it. When you should not use something, you use it. When you should live, you do not live. When you should not live, you insist on living. When you should die, you do not die. When you should not die, you want to die. You are worried and angry, persisting and expecting. You seek success, shortcuts, excellence, magical power, and miracles. You make plans, set goals. You get caught in your own trap. You are not satisfied, insatiable, and insist on glorifying your ancestors. You insist on owning houses and cars, being the best kind of man and becoming a celestial being and Buddha, etc. What are the benefits of taking the way of nature? The advantages are calmness, peace, joy, health, less trouble, and less sin. What are the consequences of going against the Tao? The disadvantages are being impetuous, distracted, worried and anxious, dogged by bad luck, and committing evil again and again. From the above benefits and consequences of walking with or walking against the way of nature, we can see that the consciousness level of those who follow the way of nature is high. According to the Hawkins energy and emotion hierarchy diagram, the energy level of those who follow the way of nature is above 540, and the energy level of those who are against the Tao is below 200. It can be confirmed that those who go to heaven are those who follow the way of nature, and those who go to the animal world and hell are those who go against the Tao. 力令智昏，智令心昏，心令性昏. Profit fails wisdom, wisdom fails the heart fails nature. Xuefeng. July 13th, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The short human life is full of ups and downs, mixed with joy and sorrow. The human life is like a bubble, full of uncertain separations and reunions and thousands of regrets. Before reaching the end of its life, your body and soul collapse and you are overwhelmed by grief. Without understanding what is going on, you sink into the sea of suffering and the cycle of reincarnation. What is so powerful that it makes our life scene of blooming bleak and tears down the lus? The answer is profit, wisdom, and the heart. Profit fails wisdom. Looking through the historical scrolls of images, the word prophet has overwhelmed so many heroes and charming people. Waves of tragedy, waves of regret, like windswept clouds rolling, the irrational prophet seeking people go down the riverbed of human history, which makes these people deeply sigh with sadness. Profit, whether it is for the benefit of power, wealth, or fame. As long as you pursue it, you will lose your rationality and reason. In the end, you will bury your kinship, friendship, good years, and even your bright future as well as your precious lives in the bottomless abyss of profit and desire. Just look at people who are running for profit. They focus only on profit, and they are desperate for profit, and few of their lives do not end in tragedy. Profits, which are obtained by serving others, are good. Profits, which are obtained by merit, are complete. The rest are all disasters. Wisdom fails the heart. The heart is like a mirror, and the mirror can observe the cause and effect of things in the world, which makes one's mind pure, consciousness clear, and spirit energetic. If the mirror is covered with dust, one cannot see clearly and cannot see through the truth of things. As a result, people will be confused, often making wrong judgments and having bad behavior. When a person is knowledgeable, intelligent, arrogant, and pretentious, their heart is muddled. Just look at the people who write books and make statements, those who teach scriptures, those who write long speeches, and those who sell morals and ethics. They are all people with high intelligence. However, their hearts are mostly muddled. This is called wisdom makes the heart dim. Believing and following the preaching and guidance of these dim-hearted people is like walking toward the desert and death. The heart fails people's nature. The heart is born for all things and all phenomena. Without the boundless universe, there would be no heart. When this phenomenon occurs, the mind will be born. When this phenomenon disappears, the mind will die. The mind changes with the condition. There are very few people who can change the condition with their heart. People have many things on their mind, and their hearts have many knots. The mind is a mirror, which only reflects objective reality. The mind is not the objective reality itself. Therefore, the mind is not reliable. When we rely on the illusion of the heart to make inductive judgments and then make decisions and put them into action, we are deceived by phenomena. Our hearts are constantly changing. If we know each other, we will intuitively understand each other, and we are very much in love. But if two hearts are apart, we are seemingly in harmony but in fact at variance, and we become strange bedfellows. Can we rely on our hearts? Who can be sure that his heart will never change? Your own heart will change. Can you believe that others' hearts will not change? What can be relied on is a person's nature. It's easy to change rivers and mountains, but hard to change a person's nature. Nature is the original appearance of things. The Patriarch Bodhidharma clearly stated in his Bloodstream sermon that, if you want to find Buddha, you must perceive nature. Without the perception of nature, it's no use reciting Buddhist scriptures, fasting, and keeping precepts. Without the perception of nature, even those who can explain the creed of the 12 classics can only say demonic words. If you have perceived nature, you don't need to read the Buddhist scriptures and chant the name of Buddha. It's no use learning much since it will dim your spiritual consciousness. Overlooking the world, it's crowded with people and vehicles, feasting and revelry, hustling and bustling and jostling each other. These are all illusions. When we were alive, we felt that everything was true, and when we died, everything fell into silence. Isn't it a tragedy to live a whole life, be busy for a whole life, but return to emptiness, not knowing where you came from and where you are going? Isn't it a tragedy? The Buddha Shakyamuni has already stated clearly, all active dharma are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows, like dew and lightning. Thusly should you meditate upon them. However, once you have perceived nature, the situation is very different. Melting into nature is eternity. Living in nature means reaching heaven. The realm of eight without is what I said, the spiritual state of an immortal reached. But without the perception of nature, it is hard to enter the wonderful realm of 8 without. The conclusion is, do not pursue profit, do not show wisdom, do not rely on your heart, and allow your nature to bloom. 恐惧使我们远离真理. Fear keeps us away from the truth. Xuefeng, August 15th, 2018. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Fear refers to the intensely depressing emotional experience that people feel when they are facing a certain dangerous situation, which they tried to get rid of but were unable to do anything. When fear occurs, it is often accompanied by a series of physiological changes, such as rapid heartbeat or irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath or pauses, increased blood pressure, a pale face, trembling lips, dry mouth, cold sweats, weakness in the limbs, etc. The phenomenon of physiological dysfunction often causes or promotes the occurrence of physical diseases. On the other hand, fear can cause obstacles to people's perception, memory, and thinking process, can make people lose the ability to analyze and judge the current situation, and cause behavior disorders. Baidu Encyclopedia. Faced with sudden dangers and crises, it is normal for people to be afraid. But before the coming of risks and crises, people can fantasize about a certain dangerous situation which causes them to feel fear. This is abnormal. It is a kind of disease, a kind of mental illness. Fear not only causes physiological dysfunctions, malfunctions of thinking, and behavior disorders, but also takes people far away from the truth. The closer to the truth, the farther away from fear. The farther away from the truth, the closer to fear. A person who has no fear is a person who is one with the truth, and a person who is fearful is a person who is one with falsehoods, evil, and ugliness. What is truth? Truth is Tao. What is Tao? Tao is the consciousness of the creator of everything and every phenomenon in the universe, and it is the synthesis of all the laws and principles of the universe. Only by knowing the Tao and being one with the Tao can all kinds of fears be eliminated. If you stay away from the Tao, you will be afraid in your heart. From this we can see that if we are afraid in our hearts, it proves that we do not know the Tao. If we are constantly in fear, it proves that we do not understand the Tao at all, and do not understand the truth. Simply put, the more we fear, the closer we are to hell. The less we fear, the closer we are to heaven. Therefore, among the 8 without realms described in the Sutra of attaining the state of immortality, one of them is without fear. If there is still fear, it means you have not attained the state of immortality yet. The lower the realm of life, the more fear there is. The higher the realm of life, the less fear there is. Hell is full of fear. Heaven is full of joy. So, if we're in an environment where there's a lot of fear, it proves that this environment is very bad, almost like hell. If we live in an environment where there is little fear, it proves that it is an ideal environment, almost like paradise. It thus can be seen that a person who has many fears is close to hell. A person who has little fear is near heaven. What do we fear? Why should we fear? If we haven't done anything that hurts the world, why should we fear? If we haven't done anything stealthily, why should we fear? If we haven't done anything illegal, why should we fear? If we haven't hindered others living, why should we fear? We fear because we have been hiding something in our hearts. We fear because we have possessed too much, had too strong a desire for fame and fortune, and have been too ambitious. We fear because we are deeply entangled with secular ties, have too much sin and too little merit, and are too selfish. We fear because we do not understand the laws of heaven. We do not know the facts. We cannot distinguish between good and evil, and we are far away from the truth. We fear because we gain things we shouldn't gain. We fear because we have no faith and do not understand the Tao. If we know a little about Tao, we should have no fear. Not to mention the deep connotation of Tao, just examine the 3 connotations of Tao, and we should not allow fear to be generated. Point 1. As a man sows, so shall he reap. Divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. Good will be rewarded with good, and evil with evil. If the reward is not forthcoming, it is because the time has not yet come. When the time comes, one will get one's due reward. 2. The sum of the positive and negative energies of the universe is 0, and what you pay and what you receive are always equal. Point 3. Everything in the universe runs in the Tao, and governments and everyone in the world also run in the Tao. The Tao is fair. It is up to the greatest creator to judge who is right or wrong, and it is up to Tao to assess our merits and faults. What should come will come. What should go will go. If we understand the above 3 points, will we still fear? If you still fear, then I tell you, you have done too many bad things. Then it's unreasonable if you do not fear. If you do not fear, who should fear? Of course, you should fear. Those who live in hell live in fear all the time. Examining our own lives, if we have always adhered to truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, sincerity, diligence, and harmony, we need not fear. If we have been giving selflessly, we have not taken advantage of others, have not harmed nature, society, others, or other lives, why should we fear? If we have not violated the law and discipline, have not humiliated our ancestors, have not blasphemed God and Buddha, and have not blasphemed the spirits and deities, why should we fear? If we haven't blocked the way of others, haven't disturbed others' preaching, haven't judged others, haven't derogated others, haven't got in the way of others living, why should we fear? If we haven't been extravagant and wasteful, and we have treated everything with kindness and love, why should we fear? Do we not believe that there are divinities watching over us? Do we not believe that our words and deeds, every action, every thought, are all being monitored and judged by the arrangements of Tao? If we think that the Tao will also do wrong to good people, it can only show that we do not understand the law of heaven, the law of Tao at all. If we are tortured and punished, the problem is not in external factors, but in ourselves. Then, fear is useless. Complaining and resentment are even more useless. No one can escape the reward or punishment of a victim. Finally, what I want to tell you is that people with fear have no relationship with health, joy, freedom, happiness, and heaven. The Bridge to the Celestial Islands. Xuefeng. October 5, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. It is said that the core of truth is in one sentence, while falsehoods are spread through millions of books. For 18 years, I have devoted myself to studying, preaching, and solving mysteries. Today, I can encompass the vast truth into 3 words: faith, love, and nature. That is to say, as long as you can exhibit faith, love, and nature to the extreme, you can reach the celestial islands, reach heaven. Or it can be said that we can achieve our greatest desires and realize our best ideals without reading extensively, researching and exploring, struggling and working hard, practicing abstinence from meat and saying prayers, as long as we completely believe, love, and let our nature blossom. Faith is a state of consciousness and mentality that has no doubts about the truth, things, or people. The first and most important thing to do in a person's life is to solve the problem of faith. Once the problem of faith is solved, the road of life is filled with happiness and freedom, and the road of life is filled with flowers and fragrances, and your life will be in order, and you can see in one encompassing vision how tiny all the mountains are. What to believe? You can believe in anything. As long as you believe, you grasp the core, the key, and you can fulfill your wishes. You can believe in the greatest creator, the ancestor of Buddha, believe in Tao, Jesus, Shakyamuni, Lao Tzu. You can believe in the king of devils, ghosts, the emperor, the president, the master, money, power, fame, profit, and carnal pleasure. You can believe in your parents, your children, your husband, your wife, your boss, your friends. You can believe in atheism, theism, creation theory, evolution theory, communism, capitalism, planning theory, and market theory. You can believe in the sun, the moon, the water, the mountains, the tortoises, and the caterpillars. You can believe in yourself, believe in everything whimsical, believe in lies, believe in strange conversations. In short, whatever you believe in, you can achieve something. As long as you firmly believe and have no doubts, your wishes will be fulfilled, and this is where the secret of magical powers also lies. For example, if you firmly believe that you can become a dragon, you can do it. And if you firmly believe that you can turn a stone into gold, you can definitely do it. Once you believe it, do not doubt it. Believing with doubts is not believing. When we doubt our beliefs, then our minds will become overcast with clouds and wind, flying sand and rocks. Even chickens and dogs will become restless around us. For example, between husband and wife, if the husband does not believe in the wife, or the wife does not believe in the husband, then the couple will become strange bedfellows, each having their own axe to grind, and they will be uneasy, will start quarreling and fighting, and start living a life of misery. Since you believe something, do not use your own standards to test, judge, and examine what you believe. For example, if you believe that your boss is a real gentleman, then do not be displeased because your boss farted or molested a woman. For example, if you believe in the greatest creator, do not have doubts because you have encountered setbacks or hardships. Love is the most beautiful state in heaven and in the world. It is a state that combines truth, goodness, beauty, faith, sincerity, peace, and joy. Look at the blooming flowers. Love is in the blooming flowers. When a person becomes filled with love, he is the most sacred, most pure, most beautiful, and most radiant life in the universe. He is a Buddha, an angel, and a celestial being. Love has no desires. Love has no conditions attached. Love cannot be hurt. Love has no pain. Love has no self. Love has no object. Love has no morals or ethics. And love is irrespective of right or wrong. The essence of love is selfless giving and dedication. If a person is easily injured because of love, psychological injury, he has demands and expectations, troubles, pains, and regrets from the outside world because of his giving and dedication. He is angry, complaining, and raging because of love, and he is anxious, worried, and fearful because of love. He has no sense of love, and he himself does not love. Nature is a kind of primitive magnetic field formed by the structure of things, that is, the features of things. Nature is Buddha. Nature is a celestial being, nature is an angel, and nature is truth. In the same way, nature is the devil, nature is a monster, nature is a demon, and nature is spirits. Nature is innate, and nature is Tathagata. Following one's nature means being natural. Following one's nature is to be one with the Tao. If you are following your nature, do not rely on your own cognition and thinking to analyze and judge, and do not weigh the pros and cons, but just live out your own Tathagata nature. The world's vast and voluminous scriptures, wisdom, knowledge, and preaching about self-improvement and self-refinement can be summed up in these three words: faith, love, and nature. These three words are the bridge to the celestial islands. 遵循自然之道，潇洒度人生. Follow the way of nature and live your life naturally and without restraint. Xuefeng, October 10th, 2018. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Peter. The way of the greatest creator is the way of nature, and the way of nature is based on the laws and principles that are strictly followed by all things. The way of nature is a program. Following this program is in line with the way of nature. Violating this program is deviating from the way of nature. Follow the way of nature and everything will be harmonious, including social harmony, physical harmony, mental and spiritual harmony. If you go against the way of nature, everything will be chaotic and disorderly, society will be turbulent, and people will have constant troubles, anxiety, and restlessness. Let's comprehend the way of nature from the gestation and birth of human beings. A few micrometers of sperm and a few millimeters of eggs combine, then develop, and finally turn into a healthy human body. The complexity of this human body is unimaginable, with limbs and hair, internal organs, bones and nerves, blood and cells, 9 apertures, and a meridian, height and skin color, etc. are all achieved proportionally. At the same time, the motor system, digestive system, respiratory system, urinary system, reproductive system, endocrine system, immune system, nervous system, and circulatory system are naturally achieved. After that, the feelings of the 7 emotions and 6 desires are born naturally, and when the pregnancy is completed in 9 months, the child will be born naturally. This series of complex developmental processes is a kind of program, and this program is the way of nature. Follow the way of nature, and everything will be accomplished naturally without any effort. The entire universe is part of the way of nature, and there is no doubt that people are also part of the way of nature, especially the birth, growth, and death of people are part of the way of nature. Since man is part of the way of nature, then we follow the way of nature. How to follow the way of nature? Do the following. Accept whatever comes up, follow your predestined relationships, follow one's nature, and be non-active. Take advantages of opportunities as they arise and be in peace. Since the way of nature is a kind of program, the program sets everything up, and the program accomplishes everything, then we will live our lives naturally and unrestrainedly according to the program and let everything happen without extra effort. Accept whatever comes up. Take things as they are, ask for nothing. When everything comes naturally, just accept and endure. If there is a thatched house, then live in the thatched house. If there is a villa, then live in the villa. If there is a luxurious palace, then live in the luxurious palace. If there is an airplane, take the plane. If there is a car, drive the car. If you have a bicycle, ride the bicycle. If you must walk, then set out on foot. If you are to be a president, be a president. If you need to be a beggar with peace of mind. Never envy anything, never ask for anything deliberately. There are thousands of people with thousands of faces and hearts. Never imitate others, never follow in others' footsteps, never listen to others' demands, never listen to success lectures and demagogy, never let power, status, reputation, beauty, money, house, car, awards, etc. guide you. Just be yourself, only be yourself. Follow your predestined ties. Follow your predestined relationships with people. When a good relationship comes naturally, follow it and associate with it, but not to fawn, cling to, or deliberately pursue. Follow the predestined relationships with affairs. Whenever something happens, just do it, no matter what it is, as long as you like it, as long as it suits your hobbies and expertise. Devote your time and energy to it and do it happily. Follow your fate. Accept whatever your destiny is happily. If you are destined to be 1.6 meters tall, do not be worried and envious of 1.8 meters. If you are destined to live by singing, then sing to your heart's content and never envy scientists or shepherds. If you are destined to have yellow skin and black eyes, never envy white skin and blue eyes. Follow your predestined relationships with places. Wherever you go, it is your home, and you will love all the places where you go. If you were born in Africa, never yearn for Europe. If you live in the countryside, never envy the city. If you live well somewhere, never deliberately move to another place or even think about emigrating abroad. Follow one's nature, be non-active. A bird will definitely fly. A flower will definitely bloom. An earthworm must be in the soil. A thief will definitely steal. A spider will definitely make a web. A hen will definitely lay eggs. With all lives, their living environment and their way of survival are determined by their nature. Asking tigers to eat grass, asking lambs to eat meat, asking fish to live on the grassland, and asking cattle and sheep to survive in water, all are against their nature. Only by following their own nature will they feel leisurely and relaxed. If you have a diamond cutter, you can do the work of mending porcelain wares. Without a diamond cutter, never try to mend porcelain wares. Follow your nature and let it fully bloom. Do not suppress yourself, and do not force yourself to achieve any goal or accomplish something. If you like to play in the mud, you can play in the mud as much as you can, and there is no need to force yourself to become a sculptor. Take advantage of opportunities as they arise and be in peace. The seasons alternate. There is a full moon only once a month. Many scenarios probably can only be experienced once in a lifetime. Therefore, it is said, opportunity knocks but once. When opportunities come, take the chance and take advantage of these opportunities fully. Do not miss the opportunity. Spring is the time to sow, and autumn is the time to harvest. Neither should be missed. When good things come, grab them quickly. When an opportunity comes, take the opportunity to do the things that should be done. Take advantage of the sunshine to dry your hay. Strike the iron while it is still hot. If the opportunity to become an official has come, hurry up and take the chance to become an official. When the chance to make a fortune comes, make haste. When the opportunity to accumulate merit has come, accumulate quickly. When the peach flower is about to bloom, hurry up and take the peach blossom for luck. When confidence comes, take the opportunity to get together for a few drinks and get drunk. When the gods, Buddhas, and celestials are here, my goodness, how can you miss such a golden Opportunity that only comes once in a lifetime. If no opportunity comes, it does not matter. Overlook the tide's ebb and flow and flowers blooming and fading. Keep a calm mind. Even if you are a genius, if you do not have a chance, let it be buried. Life is short, but life is long. If the opportunity does not come today, wait for tomorrow. If it does not come this year, wait for next year. If it does not come this life, wait for the next life. Anyway, there will be opportunities. Do not be anxious or impatient. Follow the way of nature, and life will always be cool and comfortable. You will no longer have worries and sorrows, anxiety and fears. Enjoy life no matter where you are or what you are doing. Remember, it's not that you can achieve anything that you want to achieve, not that you can do whatever you want. Everything has been set and arranged in the program of the way of nature, and the path of conforming to the way of nature is the path of Buddhas and celestial beings. It can also be said that if a person can truly follow the way of nature completely and thoroughly, he is already a Buddha and a celestial being. 自然之道之秘解析 An analysis of the mysteries of the way of nature. Xuefeng. September 18th, 2021. Chanyuan celestials follow the way of the greatest creator, that is, the way of nature. So what is the way of nature? The way of nature has the following 8 mysteries. Pregnancy has a time limit, and the delivery time is set. The implication is that everything has a time limit and cannot be surpassed. Once it is surpassed, it is against the way of nature. Application: don't be in a hurry. If you have a wish in your heart, it is the equivalent of you being pregnant. When the wish will be delivered is related to the size of the wish. If your wish is just to have a cup of coffee, it can be realized in a few minutes or a few hours. If your wish is to own a luxurious villa, it may take several years or even decades to give birth. If your wish is to reach the kingdom of heaven, you need to wait for the time of delivery all your life. Sow in spring, cultivate in summer, harvest in autumn, store in winter. The meaning is to keep the timing sequence and don't mess with the order. If the timing sequence is wrong and the order is reversed, it violates the way of nature. Application: different age groups should do the things fitting of their age group. For example, childhood is a time for playing, and the teenage years are for learning. If you study in childhood, you will violate the way of nature, and if you begin laboring as teenagers, you violate the way of nature. Rubbing ropes against wooden boards will cut into them, and dripping water onto stones will wear them down. The meaning is that as long as you focus on something, there will be a moment when things will turn around and you will become suddenly enlightened. Application: concentrate on exploring a certain phenomenon or doing a certain thing. Don't be distracted, but wholly devoted. In this way, you will make gains. Reap melon from melon seeds and reap beans from bean seeds. The meaning is that you will reap what you sow. If you sow beauty, you will reap beauty. If you sow ugliness, you will reap ugliness. Application: plant what you need in the future. If you want to go to hell, plant evil. If you want to go to heaven, plant goodness. Merits and demerits must be examined. Rewards and punishments must be executed. It means that nothing, no words or deeds, can escape the eyes of heaven, and rewards or punishments will definitely come in due course. Application: always think of a pair of eyes above your head staring at you. So you must walk on a tightrope when doing things and when speaking, being neither cowardly nor tough. Channels form where water flows. Melons' pedicels fall when their fruit ripens. It means that you must have calmness and patience when doing things, and you should not rush for success. As long as you work hard, what you want will come true, and it will come naturally. Application: don't force anything. If you work hard enough, you will achieve it naturally. If you don't work hard enough, what you want will come to a premature end, and you will come out empty-handed. Follow one's nature. This is the way to Tao. It means that our nature is a gift from the greatest creator. If it is a cat, just catch the mouse. If it is a mouse, just dig holes and steal grain. If it is tuberose, just bloom and spread the fragrance. If it is a cow or sheep, eat grass. This is the arrangement of Tao. Doing so is in keeping with the Tao, which is the way of nature. Application: when people ask me whether they should choose A or B, whether they should go east or west, my answer is always listen to your inner voice and follow your innermost drive. Why? Because the loudest voice and driving force in your heart is the Tao, which is your nature. If you do this, you will become one with the Tao. Tao will manage the birth, growth, punishment, and destruction of everything. It means that when people come to this world, their role has already been determined in the cosmic life script. If the script determines that you are a thief, then you will never become a professor. If the script determines that you are a villain, then it is absolutely impossible for you to be a good person. The Chanyuan celestials I am looking for must be innate, and they cannot be cultivated by education, just like no matter how we cultivate and guide cucumbers, cucumbers will never turn into tomatoes. In the process of human beings playing the role in the cosmic life script, when your turning point comes, you can't hide from it, and it's useless for you to ask for help. If you are destined to be a big villain, that's the arrangement of Tao. You cannot refuse it even if you pray to gods and Buddhas for help. There are various factors and personnel arrangements that lead you to the path of being a great villain. Similarly, the same is true for wanting to become a saint. This is called Tao arranges the growth. There are countless people who have been punished in the world. Who is punishing people? On the surface, people are punishing people, accidental events are punishing people, and natural disasters are punishing people. In fact, Tao is punishing people. The root cause lies in the natural law of you reap what you sow. If the Tao wants you to grow, no one can destroy you. If the Tao wants to punish you, no one can save you. Application. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange your birth, don't try to change it, neither try to change others nor yourself. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange your growth, don't worry and don't bother to find relationships and backers. What comes will come naturally, and what goes will go naturally. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange punishment, don't hide and don't complain. Since it is up to the Tao to arrange destruction, just smile and go with the wind. After understanding the secrets of the way of nature and looking at various phenomena in today's society, we will come to know that all bad phenomena are the results of violating the way of nature. Everyone can take stock and analyze their past and current situation. You will definitely find that your hardships and rough experiences are the result of you being against the way of nature. 我从游戏娱乐中看到了道的运行. I perceive the functioning of Tao through gaming and entertainment. Xuefeng, June 14th, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. Playing struggling upstream poker game, playing mahjong, kicking shuttlecock, playing hide and seek, and engaging in various other game activities, does the Tao operate within them? The answer is undoubtedly yes, because Tao is present in everything, and everything exists within Tao. In games like struggling upstream, poker game, Tao is certainly operating. Tao governs the evolution of everything, so gaming and entertainment are also within the realm of Tao. Gaming and entertainment can serve as an opportunity for enlightenment and a form of spiritual practice. Through gaming and entertainment, one can also attain Tao. Many people have played the game struggling upstream in poker. Have you ever noticed that the probability of drawing the joker cards, the big and small jokers, is higher for the player upstream? Or they may be drawn by the player downstream and contributed to the player upstream. Isn't it fascinating? What does this indicate? It indicates that only the player upstream has the qualification to obtain the joker cards. This is a rule. Regardless of how you shuffle and deal cards, there is an 80% chance that the joker cards will end up in the hand of the player upstream, showcasing their nobility. Now, let's gather a few people to play struggling upstream and collect data to see how likely it is for the joker cards to end up in the hands of the player upstream. Can we come up with a convincing percentage rule? No, this percentage rule cannot be derived. Why is that? This involves the observer effect in quantum mechanics. Is light a particle or a wave? When there is no observer, light behaves as a wave. But when there is an observer, light behaves like a particle. Photons possess both wave-like and particle-like properties. The nature of light depends on the observer. If no one is observing, it behaves like a wave. If someone is observing, it behaves like a particle. So, here's the answer. When playing struggling upstream, do the joker cards end up in the hands of the player upstream or in the hands of other players? If everyone does not consciously count or keep track, the joker cards will likely go to the player upstream. However, if someone consciously counts or keeps track, it is highly probable that the Joker cards will go to a player in the middle position. Quantum mechanics tells us that the manifestation of particles depends on interference of external factors. Once a person consciously wants to do something, the essential characteristics of things tend to exhibit completely opposite states. Does the operation of Tao have similar characteristics to the manifestation of particles? I cannot draw a conclusion at this moment because there are too many factors involved, and it is a complex matter. However, we can find some clues from natural phenomena. For example, the saying, when consciously planting flowers, they do not bloom, but unintentionally planting willows, they grow in abundance. Intentionally planting flowers involves too many human factors, so they do not bloom. Unintentionally planting willows lacks human influence, so they grow luxuriantly. As willow trees are easy to grow while flowers are difficult to cultivate. This phenomenon widely exists in nature and various aspects of human society. Based on the above analysis, I would like to propose the following 5 hypotheses. The history we learn from books may be precisely the opposite of real history. What we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch may all be false or illusory. Conscious and desirous efforts of individuals may be opposite to their ideals. Living without intent or purpose may align most closely with the operation of Tao and make it easier to attain. Living out one's true nature is the unification of Tao. Qingjai, the affection debt. Xuefeng, January 31st, 2022. Translated by Qinyu, edited by Peter. Debts can include property debts, money debts, affection debts, nature debts, and life debts. Property debt. You borrowed something from someone else and didn't return it, or you ate or took something that belongs to someone else without repaying it. You then owe a property debt. Money debt. You borrowed money from others and didn't repay it, so you now owe a money debt. Affection debt. You received help from others or received physical, psychological, and spiritual comfort without returning or compensating them. You incur an affection debt. Nature debt. Anyone who harms nature or others without making sufficient efforts and contributions will owe a nature debt. Life debt. As the saying goes, one who murders pays with the forfeit with his life. In fact, if you kill any life, you have to pay with your own life. If you killed a life and have not paid for it, then you owe a life debt. What we need to be vigilant about and keep in mind is that as long as the above-mentioned debts are not repaid, we will inevitably enter reincarnation, and there is absolutely no hope of going to heaven. This article focuses on affection debts. Affection debts are divided into debts of favor and love debts. The debt of favor means that others have helped you, but you have not correspondingly helped them, so you owe a debt of favor. Therefore, everyone should carefully recall who has helped them. If you have received help from others, but have not returned the corresponding help, you should quickly find a way and an opportunity to help them. There is a value in life. Genuine. Do not offer help if someone does not ask for it. If you helped someone without him asking for it, you are actually hurting him, because he thus owes you a debt of favor, and you will make him become a pig in the next life. It is cruel to make him transform into a pig, dog, cow, or sheep to pay you back in the next life. Love debts are mainly the debts owed by men and women who are in love. People need comfort in their spirits and souls, and also need comfort in their physiology. When people get physical and receive psychological and spiritual comfort from the other side without giving the corresponding consolation to that other side, then they owe a debt of love. There is a predestined relationship in a love debt, and that predestined relationship is also a debt. Once you feel that you still have feelings for someone, and feel that you are in debt to someone, or you can't forget him or her because of the deep affection, that means you owe a love debt. One of the core components of self-improvement and self-cultivation is to strive to repay the debts of property, money, affection, nature, and life. The most effective way to repay them is to do formless almsgiving, which especially works well for paying off life debts. I hope that on this New Year's Eve, everyone will have a clear mind, give more, and take less, and after entering the Lunar New Year, repay all kinds of debts and end all kinds of worldly ties, and go to heaven freely and unrestrainedly. 思路清晰人生才顺才有未来. Clear thinking leads to a smooth life and a promising future. Xuefeng, February 1st, 2022. Edited by Qinyu. I mainly study the books without words, The natural phenomena and social changes are books without words, and people are also books without words. Reading people is like reading books without words. After studying many individuals, I've noticed a pattern. The clearer and more organized one's thinking, the smoother their life tends to be. Conversely, a disorganized mind leads to a difficult life. A core factor for an unsatisfactory life is a confused thought process. If one's thinking is muddled, their life is bound to be turbulent. From this, we understand that to make our life smoother, our first step should not be to pursue external success, but rather to adjust our thinking. Once our thoughts become clear, a smooth life will naturally follow. To predict someone's future, don't focus on their wealth, status, or facial features and physiognomy based on the 8 characters, Bazi. Instead, pay attention to the clarity of their thinking. If their thoughts are unclear, their future will likely be chaotic. If their thoughts fluctuate between clarity and confusion, their future will be a mix of success and failure. However, if someone's thinking is consistently clear, even reaching a state of profound understanding, their life will not only be smooth, but will also lead them to a heavenly realm. The direction a nation or a country is headed can be determined by the clarity of the thinking of its citizens, especially that of its leadership. If the thinking is unclear, without a doubt, the future of that nation or country will be in turmoil. On the contrary, if the thinking is clear, the future will be bright, leading to prosperity and success. If you don't believe my viewpoint, you can randomly select an elderly person and observe whether their life has been smooth or not. If it has been, then check the clarity of their thinking. Without a doubt, it will be clear and organized. Take the case of a high-ranking official who has been steadily advancing in their career for over a decade. Suddenly, they commit a crime and are imprisoned, and their assets are confiscated. They experience a major setback. Is this a result of clear thinking or confusion? Undoubtedly, it is due to unclear thinking, as they believe that being in a position of power allowed them to act with impunity. Their lack of clear thinking led to this outcome. When someone writes an article, if it lacks focus, is rambling, has disjointed arguments, and is full of loopholes, without a doubt, their thinking is unclear, and their life will certainly not be smooth. Anyone who follows such an individual, no matter how many people he attracts, will ultimately suffer. Similarly, look at a person's living environment. If their bedroom, yard, and surroundings are dirty and messy, with garbage scattered everywhere, clothes and bedding left in disarray, and dishes piled up in the sink, there is no need for further analysis. Their thinking is undoubtedly unclear, and their life will match their environment, chaotic and disordered. How to make one's thinking clear? This question is too broad and extensive to be fully revealed in a few sentences. It involves one's past merits, faith, worldview, values, and outlooks on life and life. However, one point worth considering is to read more books, travel more, observe more, and engage in deeper contemplation. Extend the scope of your thoughts as far as possible into the distant future. For example, the results of thinking about something 1 year ahead will be different from thinking about it 10 years ahead, and thinking about it 100 years or even 1,000 years ahead will be entirely different. The longer the time span of your thinking, the clearer your mind will become. Short-term thinking leads to scattered thoughts, and as a result, your mind cannot be clear. Conversely, long-term thinking leads to a clear mind. Short-term thinking leads to confusion. 慢聊远见与短视的差异. Chatting about the difference between foresight and short-sightedness. Xuefeng, February 2nd, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. The farther we look ahead, the simpler and lighter life becomes. The closer we focus, the more complex and burdensome it becomes. Are you considering tomorrow's life? Or are you thinking about life 10 years from now? How about 60 years from now? Or even 100 years from now? Imagine ourselves standing at a crossroads, with one path led by a president saying, "Follow me, and I will give you a position in government." Another path led by a billionaire saying, "Follow me, and I will make you rich." Then, a pastor saying, "Follow me, and I will lead you to heaven." Finally, a philosopher saying, "Follow me, and I will help you discern right from wrong." Which path should we choose? This decision involves a person's perspective. As we have already clarified, the longer the time limit for thinking about outcomes, the clearer our thoughts become and the brighter our future becomes. Conversely, the shorter the time limit for thinking, the more confused we are about the future. At the same time, we know that tigers will never grow wings. We should never fantasize about having all the advantages. Thus, when making choices, we know that following the president will only secure tomorrow's benefits, following the billionaire will secure benefits 10 years from now, following the pastor will secure benefits after death, and following the philosopher will ensure that we live a clear and straightforward life. Now, who are you ready to follow? Is there anyone thinking, I'll follow the president first? Maybe I can gain a position, make money, go to heaven, and live a clear life? If you think that way, it proves that your thinking is unclear, and the issue of foresight and short-sightedness does not even arise. You are a muddled individual, a patient with schizophrenia, living in a fantasy world because such a thing is almost impossible. The vast majority of people in humanity lack foresight. They drift with the wind, pursuing immediate benefits, saying, whoever offers me the most money, I'll follow them, or I'll follow whoever can provide me with comfort, excitement, and pleasure, or I'll follow whoever can give me a government position, or I'll follow whoever has the highest reputation. These are all short-sighted behaviors. It's similar to many parents helping their children choose a college and major based solely on which one will best secure a job with a higher salary after graduation, a very short-sighted approach. Foresight means knowing the future outcome of a certain phenomenon. The longer the time span of knowing the result, the more foresight one has. For example, some people see a child's appearance, behavior, and way of speaking and conclude that the child will become an outstanding talent 20 years later. Others see a teenager shoveling manure while reading a book and predict that this person will undoubtedly become a future leader. Some people witness an official accepting a bribe and predict that this person will end up in prison 10 years later, and so on. These are all instances of foresight. Short-sightedness, on the other hand, means prioritizing immediate benefits without considering the future consequences. For example, polluting rivers and exploiting others for personal wealth, giving up faith for personal safety and gain, betraying close friends and family for promotion, willingly singing praises to the devil to avoid risks, distorting facts, and confusing right and wrong for the sake of promotion, and being opportunistic without principles. These are all forms of short-sightedness. The benefits of foresight are avoiding pitfalls, being proactive in taking preventive measures, and maintaining confidence in the future even during extremely challenging times, instead of compromising one's principles to ally with wrongdoers and assist in their evil deeds. The tragedy of short-sightedness is that it may bring temporary gains and secure personal interests. However, when circumstances change, they might encounter troubles or even disasters. Anyone only considering immediate benefits or benefits 3 to 4 years ahead is undoubtedly short-sighted. Those considering benefits 10 years or longer ahead are surely individuals with foresight. Anyone considering benefits 100 years ahead is extraordinary and no longer an ordinary person. As for those considering benefits thousands, tens of thousands, or billions of years ahead, they are surely gods, Buddhas, or immortals. 自然之道在日常生活中的运用. The application of the way of nature in daily life. Xuefeng, November 2nd, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. What is the way of nature? Let us gain inspiration and understanding from the natural world. Take a corn seed, plant it in moist soil, and within 1 day, the embryo germinates. After about 1 week, a small shoot emerges from the ground. Around 27 days later, it starts to grow new leaves. After 52 days, it develops corn silk, and male pollen appears at the top. Around 90 days later, the corn cob matures. In about 100 days, the corn will be ready for harvest. The corn grain takes 100 days from entering the soil to maturing, and this is the way of nature. An egg hatches into a chicken in around 21 days under normal conditions, and this is also the way of nature. Water freezes into solid at 0 degrees, melts into liquid above 0 degrees, and evaporates into gas at 100 degrees. Temperature changes lead to variations in the water's molecular state, and this is the way of nature. Water flows naturally, and when the melon is ripe, it falls off the vine. These are powerful proofs of the way of nature. Looking at the vast world, apart from many phenomena caused by human activities, All other phenomena change and evolve according to the way of nature. It can be said that all things in the world follow the way of nature. Humans are one species in nature and are also bound by the laws of the way of nature. For example, aging and death are inevitable, but humans have subjectivity and thinking, so they have the tendency and ability to deviate from the way of nature. When we summarize the disasters in human society and the causes of individual troubles and suffering, we find that they are caused precisely by violating the way of nature. Conversely, when society is stable, the weather is favorable, and people live happily and contentedly, it is a result of adhering to and following the way of nature. Therefore, we can conclude that when people obey and follow the way of nature, society becomes harmonious and stable, and people live in harmony and happiness. On the other hand, when they go against and disrupt the way of nature, society becomes turbulent and unstable, and people suffer and endure hardships. So how do we obey the way of nature? Let me explain through some everyday phenomena. The phenomenon of sudden wealth. Analyzing the 100-day maturity process of corn seeds after entering the soil, we can see that the phenomenon of sudden wealth goes against the way of nature. Wealth and prosperity should be accumulated little by little, day by day, following the natural course of events. Instant wealth is not in accordance with the way of nature, and its result is catastrophic. It leads to extreme and distorted psychological activities, dramatic changes in language, gestures, and even physiological functions. The attitudes and demands of others towards the individual change, often leading to contradictions and conflicts. In such cases, the phenomenon of sudden wealth results in inflated desires, strained relationships, an imbalanced normal life order, and twisted and distorted mental states. In short, it increases troubles, suffering, anxiety, and fear. Many people love gambling, playing the stock market for speculation, and engaging in betting. All of these are the psychological outcomes that go against the principles of the way of nature. Similarly, corruption, borrowing money for business ventures, to quickly get the first bucket of gold, to live in a luxurious mansion, drive luxury cars, and so on. All ideas and actions aimed at getting rich quickly go against the way of nature. This is like sowing corn seeds and expecting a harvest after just 3 to 5 days. The result will undoubtedly bring numerous troubles, sufferings, anxiety, and worries. Therefore, everything cannot be rushed. Any mentality or action that seeks quick success violates the way of nature, and the result is undoubtedly contrary to one's wishes. By going against the way of nature, any self-satisfied success will bring countless hidden dangers. These hidden dangers will gradually be exposed or erupt in the individual's future life. For example, corrupt officials who are smug and self-satisfied may end up in prison or get kidnapped or murdered in their future life journey. The fear of death. 99% of people have a fear of death, which is a very irrational mentality. Death is the most natural and just thing, as everything in the world ultimately leads to death. Even the heaven and the earth will have a day of extinction. How could humans be an exception? To eliminate the fear of death, one must understand the principles of the way of nature. Once understood, one can face death calmly without disturbance. Death is not an accidental event. It is an inevitable trend that cannot be avoided. Therefore, the best mentality is to embrace death with a smile. Whether in fear or smiling, death is inevitable. Fear makes people timid and fearful, while smiling makes people live a relaxed, free, and enjoyable life. Why not embrace death with a smile and live a life full of romance? In fact, those who understand the mysteries of life and time are the least afraid of death because death opens another door for the journey of life. Perhaps the scenery after death is even more fascinating and pleasant. Thus, those who understand the way of nature and walk on its path will never fear death. If one still fears death, it means they are on a path that deviates from the way of nature. The phenomenon of poverty. Have you noticed that the more impoverished and backward a place is, the more likely it is to suffer from natural disasters and human-made calamities? Similarly, impoverished people tend to have narrow, conservative, stubborn, short-sighted, selfish, and harmful thinking patterns. There seems to be a hidden spell that says, the more they have, the more they are given, and the less they have, the more they stay impoverished. I used to be puzzled by why places in poverty are more prone to disasters and why impoverished people tend to be conservative, stubborn, and harmful. After repeatedly studying the book without words, I finally discovered that the root cause lies in violating the way of nature. When we observe birds, whether eagles or sparrows, migratory or resident birds, they are always busy surviving. However, impoverished regions and individuals living in poverty are not as busy as birds. This indicates that they are not walking on the path of the way of nature. The way of nature tells us that the more accommodating a place is to various species, the easier it is to survive on this place. Similarly, for humans, those who have an open mind and embrace diverse ideas and lifestyles are more likely to avoid disasters and move towards prosperity and happiness. As the saying goes, the one who steals will not become wealthy, and the one who treats guests well will not be poor. If a person's home always has guests from all over, it will not be a place of poverty. Take the United States, for example. It is prosperous, strong, civilized, and free. Why? Because the United States embraces the largest number of multi-ethnic, multi-faith, multi-group, and multilingual immigrants in the world. Immigrants make up 15.3% of the total population in the United States. It is not difficult to understand from this point that in the past, present, and future, the United States has been prosperous and powerful. Conversely, when we look at poor and underdeveloped countries, most of them are closed and exclude foreigners. Biodiversity is a sign of prosperity, which aligns with the way of nature. A place that closes itself off and excludes outsiders goes against the way of nature, leading to inevitable poverty. Regarding individuals, those who refuse to accept new ideas, cultures, concepts, and lifestyles will inevitably become conservative, stubborn, and fall into poverty and decline. Phenomenon of disease. Disease is a sign of violating the way of nature. Following the natural way of rising with the sun and resting with the sunset is in accordance with the way of nature. Those who violate it will eventually fall ill. Regular routines in daily life and moderation in diet are in harmony with the way of nature. Violations of these principles will lead to illness. Negative mental states such as anger, comparison, envy, greed, aggressiveness, belligerence, selfishness, and the pursuit of pleasure and so on, also violate the way of nature, leading to illness. Here, I propose a Goldbach conjecture regarding diseases. I encourage readers to gather, summarize, analyze, and reason to verify it. The conjecture is, anyone who has a disease must have violated the way of nature, and anyone without a disease must be following the way of nature. Phenomenon of seeking immediate gain and profits. First of all, let me tell you that 99% of humanity seeks immediate gain and profits. Any phenomenon of seeking immediate gain and profits is a violation of the way of nature. From forcing children to abandon play for studying to commercial endeavors seeking the first bucket of gold, bribery and corruption in the business world, or cutting corners to get ahead. All these attempts to gain benefits by violating natural laws and even in the realm of spiritual cultivation. Many people barely scratch the surface of cultivating themselves but wish to become immortals or enlightened beings. Moreover, many people lack even basic knowledge of how to be a decent human being. Yet, having learned only a few pieces of patchwork jargon related to spiritual cultivation, they audaciously present themselves as masters, attempting to propagate their teachings and mislead others. Many people show a lack of diligence in their studies, resort to deception and trickery in their work, fail to contemplate deeply in their thoughts, and neglect serious academic inquiry. Yet, they constantly harbor the desire to achieve rapid success and prosperity. But where can such success come so easily and effortlessly? Once they achieve their wishes too effortlessly, without a doubt, they step into a trap and plant hidden dangers. Planned economy and market economy. Planned economy violates the way of nature, while market economy aligns with the way of nature. When we observe nature, no human intervention is required for management. Species naturally reproduce, and their populations self-regulate. Over billions of years, nature proceeds orderly without disorder. However, once humans intervene, disrupting the natural course, disruptions occur, and calamities like droughts, floods, pest infestations, fires, extreme heat, and extreme cold emerge. Similarly, looking at countries, those with market economies prosper, while those with planned economies will inevitably be poor and underdeveloped. The more government intervention, the worse the situation becomes. Conversely, the less government intervention, the healthier and more prosperous the economy becomes. The application of the way of nature in daily life is discussed through the above-mentioned phenomena. In human society, there are countless occurrences of deviating from the way of nature. I hope everyone can take the examples I provided as a starting point and extend their understanding to other situations, gradually realizing the benefits of following the way of nature. I can clearly tell you that the way of nature is the way of the greatest creator. 论借力天时之机密 On borrowing the opportune moments of heaven's timing. Xuefeng, November 12, 2022. Edited by Qin Yu. When the timing of the heavens is off, the sun and moon lack radiance. When the timing of the earth is off, grass and trees do not thrive. When the timing of water is off, the waves are not calm. When the timing of people is off, the flow of fortune is blocked. Rhapsody on dwelling in the mountains. The timing of heaven is a subtle mechanism, and the opportune moment is the way of heaven. When the opportune moment arrives, all things respond and flourish. When it departs, all phenomena follow randomly and wither away. Humans possess the insight into the subtleties of heaven's timing. Following the timing of heaven brings smoothness and prosperity, while going against it leads to stagnation and obstruction. Heaven's timing is beyond human control or manipulation. The only way to prosper is to align with the timing and circumstances. There is a saying, times create heroes. But it is not just heroes. Times also create the wealthy, tyrants, experts, and scholars. Both fame and fortune are created by seizing the opportune moments, while disasters and misfortunes are similarly formed. Ignorant and foolish people do not understand the timing of heaven, and those who go against it will face hardships. Even if one has vast knowledge and aspirations to conquer the universe, going against the timing of heaven makes it difficult to display one's talents and fulfill one's ambitions. Conversely, petty individuals, when they follow the timing of heaven, can also have luxurious mansions, fancy cars, and a bustling scene of carriages and horses in front of their gates. Those who truly understand the secrets of seizing opportune moments are humble and unpretentious. They avoid calamities by acting humbly. Those who are arrogant and rely on their talents are unaware of the secrets of heaven's timing and will inevitably face punishment. A person's talents are shaped by the circumstances of the times. Without favorable circumstances, there are no talented individuals. For example, during the Cultural Revolution, there were no private entrepreneurs. It is wrong to say that heroes create their own opportunities. Without the assistance of favorable timing, a hero could be a thug, but with the support of favorable timing, a thug can instantly become a hero. Natural timing and social timing are distinct. The changing of the four seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, is natural timing, which humans can only follow and not alter. Social timing arises from the cycle of cause and effect. When negative karma exceeds a critical threshold, the timing will turn adverse. Conversely, when positive merits surpass a certain threshold, the timing will turn favorable. For individuals, they should be modest and humble, conforming to the natural timing, which is to revere nature. When social timing conflicts with one's nature, one should hide their talents and bide their time. When social timing aligns with one's nature, they should seize the opportunity to fully display their abilities. Opportunities lost may never return. There are major and minor opportune moments. Major opportune moments refer to global-scale occurrences, such as the global use of masks. Minor opportune moments refer to local events, such as Ukraine facing an invasion, which leads to emigration. To follow the timing of heaven is to borrow its power and seize the opportune moments. Just like migratory birds migrate with the power of heaven, the rise of private entrepreneurs is also supported by the power of heaven. Going abroad to study and start a business also benefits from the assistance of the timing of heaven. If social timing closes the country's borders, how can one fulfill their desire to go abroad? Therefore, in countless threads and fibers, its essence remains unchanged. Let it gather and disperse as it may. The willow tree still gracefully sways. Don't mock the fleeting beauty of spring's soft fluff, for it has no roots yet endures the gusty stuff. With a favorable wind as my guide, I ascend high and bright, riding on good fortune, soaring to the heights. When the weather is clear, dry the grass. When the iron is hot, strike it. Noble people are hard to encounter, but when you do, be respectful. Good timing is hard to come by, but when you encounter it, seize it. Do not miss the opportune moments, as missing them leads to regret and disappointment. 城市在天内裤被扒掉的启示. Achieving success through heavenly timing. Insights from losing my underpants. Xuefeng, March 8, 2023. Edited by Chinyo. Last night, the four of us were playing the card game, Struggling Upstream, a Chinese card game similar to Hearts, and I ended up losing all my clothes. Note, in this context, ba gong refers to losing all the chips in the game, not stripping off clothes. In the game, losing a round results in losing one chip, and losing 5 chips is considered being ba gong, stripped off. Winning a round gains you 1 chip. Each player starts with 5 chips for each round of the game. For me, it was an experience of utter defeat, something I hadn't experienced since I started playing the game at the age of 4 or 5. Could it be that my card skills have regressed? No. It's that the Tao has bestowed upon me a profound gift, allowing me to further understand the rules and principles hidden within the seemingly chaotic and disorderly holographic order. The ancient sages have long told us, man plans, and the heavens decide. Before one experiences a thorough defeat, these teachings are merely theoretical without personal experience and realization. Only through experiencing failure or triumph can one truly comprehend their essence. In the control of the Tao, regardless of how exceptional one's card skills are, or how good the cards they hold, they may still lose and be left with nothing, stripped bare. Similarly, regardless of how poor one's card skills are, or how bad the cards they hold, they still have a chance to win the game. Just observe people around you. Some may be exceptionally good-looking, yet their lives are miserable. Some may have a humble appearance but live for 100 years in peace. Some may possess exceptional talent and intelligence, yet meet a tragic end. Some may be ignorant and clueless, yet live their lives unscathed. Some may be immensely wealthy, yet end up in prison. Some may live their whole lives in poverty, but still enjoy family happiness. I have written an article called Mahjong, Holography, and Chinese Culture, which was inspired by playing Mahjong and understanding the underlying principles. Last night, while playing poker, Struggling Upstream, I further realized the profound connotation of man plans and the heavens decide. Those who have played Mahjong and poker must deeply feel that in a game with 4 players, the cards you draw each time are different from the last time. Even if you play all your life, it is difficult to draw a hand identical to a hand you previously held. The 54 card combinations are astronomical, seemingly random, disorderly, and chaotic. Yet, each player's outcome is almost predetermined. This is the principle of holography, where hidden within the seemingly chaotic disorder lies strict and elusive rules and principles. Behind these rules and principles, there are mysteries that are unseen, unheard, and untouchable. These mysteries are the truth of holography, but they are not the entirety of the truth. The true core truth lies in Tao's holographic mechanism. Understanding the principles of the holographic mechanism, one will no longer seek quick gains, feel restless, impose one's will on others, or be overly competitive. In the holographic mechanism, the best way to live is to play, entertain, and experience, while everything else is illusory and transient. Only by understanding Tao's holographic mechanism can one become a celestial being. 同维度认知解决不了同维度矛盾. Cognition within the same dimension cannot resolve internal conflicts. Xuefeng, May 17, 2023. Edited by Chinyo. Can those who love marriage and family solve the series of conflicts and crises that occur within them? The answer is impossible. It's like standing in a muddy pit and trying to clean your feet. It's not possible. Just as a mouse cannot solve the crisis of being caught by a cat with its level of cognition, and just as a patriot cannot build a world of great harmony, It's as futile as a fish trying to fly to a forest to settle in and sing. Farmers cannot solve their own contradictions and crises, and likewise, workers and intellectuals cannot solve their own contradictions and crises. Similarly, a nation, a country, a political party, and a religion cannot resolve their own contradictions and crises because cognition within the same dimension cannot solve conflicts within that dimension. Humanity itself cannot solve its own contradictions and crises because human cognitive ability is limited by time and space. It always tends to focus on one thing at the expense of others. When one contradiction is resolved, it will sow the seeds of another 8 contradictions. And when one crisis is resolved, it will give rise to 8 more crises. People coming from other places can easily discover the deficiencies and shortcomings of the local area. People from developed areas can easily find business opportunities and make money in less developed regions. The contradictions and crises of an underdeveloped or even impoverished country need people from developed civilizations to resolve them. Humanity's contradictions and crises require extraterrestrial beings to solve. From this, we understand a principle. To resolve conflicts, confrontations, and crises, do not seek solutions and approaches within the same dimension. Internal contention results in an increase in entropy, leading to rigidity and death. Instead, actively and proactively introduce people and cultures from different dimensions to overcome one's own contradictions and long-standing problems. The more pronounced regionalism, nationalism, and patriotism, the less conducive it is to resolve one's own contradictions and crises. This principle also applies to individuals. The stronger the ego, the better one feels about oneself, and the more reluctant one is to listen to others' advice, the greater the hidden crisis on the path of life. Because individuals cannot truly know and understand themselves, those around them are more aware of their situation. When a person rejects the advice of others and stubbornly insists on their own course of action, crises and dangers await ahead. Therefore, when a person is troubled, suffering, and worried, the best approach is to abandon their own cognition and seek external methods to solve the problems. If one always believes they are right and refuses to listen to others' advice, their troubles, suffering, and anxieties will not decrease but instead increase. In conclusion, do not seek solutions and ways to resolve crises within the same dimension of people and culture. Instead, look to people and cultures from different dimensions to find solutions and paths to overcome problems and crises. 问题无解向外探索. If a problem seems unsolvable, explore beyond its boundaries. Xuefeng, June 26, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. Suppose a group of people live in a dim, dark, damp cave. How can they break free from this predicament? Is it possible to transform the gloomy, wet cave into a sunny, comfortable environment? Trying to study, research, strive, and work hard inside the cave is almost futile. The best way is not to contemplate within the cave, but to step out of it. Stepping out of the cave, one would embrace the bright spring scenery, clear mountains, beautiful waters, fresh air, and vast territory, and all discomforts would vanish. In August 1896, China was a place where men wore long braids and women bound their feet. Ox carts and horse carriages were commonly seen on the streets. The houses were made of mud, and the roads were made of earth. Even a gust of wind could blow up clouds of dust. Beggars were everywhere, and there were no household electrical appliances, not even a flashlight. At that time, Li Hongzhang visited the United States and saw skyscrapers on the streets, with cars passing by, men in suits and leather shoes, and women bared their chests and shoulders. There were electric lights indoors. The contrast with China was immense. If he had not ventured abroad, Li Hongzhang would never have known how backward China was at that time. In 1978, China's per capita GDP was only $156, while the per capita GDP of the world's poorest countries in sub-Saharan Africa was $490. Monaco in Europe had a per capita GDP of $38,400, the United States was $10,600, and Japan was $8,821. Imagine how much China resembled a group of people living in a cave who had never seen the world. At that moment, Chinese leaders decisively abandoned the policy of isolation and sent a large number of government officials to various parts of the world for investigation, especially to developed Western countries. As a result, they broadened their horizons and opened their minds. Subsequently, China found its path of development through reform and opening up, leading to over 30 years of rapid economic growth. If they had not explored development outside but continued to study development ideas inside the cave, it would have been difficult to maintain a per capita GDP of $156. How long does it take to register a company? I don't know which country has the fastest company registration process, but I registered a company in a certain country in less than 10 minutes. There was no need to bribe officials, nor did I need to find acquaintances. I selected the company name, signed, paid, and received a complete set of company documents, all within the said time. Throughout human history on Earth for thousands of years, how many people have lived happily, joyfully, freely, and blessedly? Are there any? There are very few. More people live in distress, pain, conflict, struggle, oppression, anxiety, and fear. Why has this issue concerning all of humanity remained unresolved for thousands of years? Take a look at all the so-called great figures and thinkers throughout human history. Observe their thoughts and actions. Look at the discussions on the internet today, especially those of so-called masters, including high-ranking officials in the United Nations and presidents and leaders of various countries. They are all contemplating and pondering within the cave. Why don't they go outside to take a look? By stepping out of the Earth and observing the stars and oceans of the thousand-year world planet and following their way of life, all the problems facing humanity will be easily solved. By walking out of the Earth and exploring the thousand-year world among the vast sea of stars, following their way of life, wouldn't all the problems faced by humanity suddenly become clear and easily solvable? If a problem cannot be solved in Christianity, look for answers in Buddhism. If Buddhism cannot solve a problem, look for answers in Islam. If Islam cannot solve a problem, look for answers in Taoism. If Taoism cannot solve a problem, go to the frontiers of science for answers. If science cannot solve a problem, look for answers in theology and metaphysics. In short, do not seek solutions and paths within your own cave of knowledge and cognition. Instead, step outside your own cognitive circle and seek answers outside. For some problems, it is much more difficult for those within the circle to find a solution than ascending to the sky. But by stepping out, one will find that others had already solved them hundreds or even thousands of years ago. I once wrote an article called, "When you think you're right, you're already wrong." If we do not step out of our own circle of knowledge and cognition, closing ourselves off in our own cave, then we will follow in the footsteps of past mistakes. Even after 10,000 years, humanity will still be trapped in the sea of suffering and unable to extricate itself. Isolationism, closing our eyes and ears, blocking information, shouting slogans, and paying no attention to external affairs will inevitably lead to ignorance, backwardness, barbarism, and ultimately extinction. 我的自然之道观. My view of the way of nature. Xuefeng, December 4th, 2023. Translation edited by Qinyo. I emphasize that Life Genuine follows the way of nature because it is synonymous with the way of the greatest creator. Nature equals the greatest creator, and the greatest creator equals nature. Nature embodies all the laws and principles of the universe. Everything in the universe exists and evolves within these laws and principles. In this sense, nature is Tao, and Tao is nature. Tao is the spirit of the greatest creator, the consciousness of the greatest creator. Therefore, we know that the greatest creator, Tao, and nature are one. The greatest creator equals Tao equals nature. Nature equals Tao equals the greatest creator. Everything perceived by the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind is a manifestation of nature. Every phenomenon, every event in nature, is part of its evolutionary process. From the fluttering of a butterfly's wings to the violent eruption of a volcano. From a person sneezing to the explosion of a star, everything happens within the embrace of nature, so we should follow the way of nature. In fact, whether we follow the way of nature or not, the reality is that we are already within the way of nature. Everything in the universe is within the way of nature. No life, no phenomenon, no event can escape the palm of the way of nature. understanding both the essence and the reason behind things. Having a clear mind and bright eyes brings us endless benefits. Firstly, our journey of life will become simple, light, joyful, and pleasant, rather than complex, heavy, troubled, and painful. Secondly, we will avoid reefs, pitfalls, obstacles, and deception, making our journey of life smooth and safe. Finally, by following the way of nature, we can reach a better space. I'll give some examples to illustrate. In Life Genuine, there is no idol worship, just a love for nature. Life Genuine does not celebrate festivals related to gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and saints, nor does it celebrate festivals related to countries, nations, great people, or individuals. Only natural festivals, such as the Mid-Autumn Festival and the Spring Festival. In Life Genuine, there are no temples, monasteries, shrines, or churches. We just integrate into nature. Isn't life simpler and easier this way? Things undergo cycles of formation, duration, decay, and emptiness. Life experiences cycles of birth, aging, sickness, and death. This is the way of nature. Therefore, we will no longer mourn the decline of something, nor will we sorrow over our own aging or the passing of our loved ones. I live each day happily and freely, allowing everything to return to its rightful place, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. Why in Life Genuine? One should not interfere with others' minds and affairs. Because everyone is within the way of nature, everyone has their own unique life trajectory and destiny. Interfering with others' minds and affairs not only annoys people, but also disrupts and influences nature's arrangement for them. Therefore, watching someone go to heaven without jealousy or interference. Watching someone go to hell without intervention or interference. Great as the sun, beautiful as peony flowers, have never interfered with anyone's destiny for millions of years. So small as you and me should not impose influence on others. Life Genuine does not advocate the cultivation of supernatural powers, gong, magic, and techniques, because as humans, the way of nature has already arranged everything for us. All the skills needed for survival are provided. Even the thresholds of hearing and sight are set to protect us. Otherwise, if we could hear plants growing, hear people talking 3 kilometers away, see ghosts around us and gods in the sky, we would not survive. Therefore, as humans, longing for and seeking supernatural powers, gong, magic, and techniques are contrary to the way of nature, and it goes against the way of nature. Understanding the way of nature, we can be as calm as water and tranquil and serene. Born in poverty? Well, that's okay. Born into wealth? Well, that's fine too. Stay in a 5-star hotel? Feels great. Stay in a thatched cottage? Wow, beautiful. In short, adapt to circumstances and remain calm. A mouse is a mouse, a cat is a cat. This is the arrangement of the way of nature, so there is no insistence on others, nor on oneself. No insistence on cabbage having the value of radishes, no insistence on wolves turning into herbivores. No insistence on children becoming rich and famous, no disdain for parents not leaving a substantial inheritance. No insistence on others acting according to one's own intentions, nor insistence on oneself becoming a certain type of person. Act according to one's own inner preferences. Become the person that the universe needs according to the arrangement of nature. Play the role that one should. After walking the way of nature, I discovered that selfish desires and attachment to the self are contradictory to the way of nature. Consequently, selfish desires and attachment to the self vanished. Without them, I eventually realized that I belonged to a heavenly life, having transcended the ordinary. It turns out that selflessness leads to self, and selflessness leads to fulfillment, is the highest and most profound secret of cultivation. Only by reaching the state of having nothing can one discover that they possess everything. After understanding the way of nature and adhering to it, looking back at everything in nature, observing everything happening in human society, and witnessing the aspirations and actions of people around us, it's full of humor, very funny. While for yourself, like driving with a GPS navigation map installed, regardless of how complicated the roads or how challenging the city may be, you will eventually reach your destination. 量子力学测不准原理与人的命运. Uncertainty Principle in Quantum Mechanics and Human Destiny. Xuefeng, December 5, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. In my article, All Our Efforts and Contributions Accumulate Virtue for Ourselves, I elaborated on a principle that suggests, according to the conservation of energy theorem, the sum of positive and negative energies in the universe is zero. This phenomenon, like as you sow, so shall you reap, can be deduced to speculate on a person's future scenarios based on factors such as their psychological activities, words, behaviors, expressions, attitudes, and postures. In other words, a person's life trajectory and destiny can be predicted. However, some have questioned this, arguing that microscopic particles exhibit random Brownian motion, and the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics tells us that human destiny cannot be predicted. The skepticism is very valuable. Now, let's analyze and explore whether the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics can be applied to predicting destiny. Before delving into this, let's first understand what Brownian motion, quantum mechanics, and the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics mean. Describing scientific concepts in academic language can be challenging for the public, so I prefer simplifying complex scientific concepts for better understanding. Brownian motion refers to the random movement of particles. Most people who have studied in school have observed the erratic movement of molecules. Under a microscope, all molecules move aimlessly, colliding with each other randomly, creating a chaotic motion. What is quantum? Again, avoiding scientific jargon, let's understand quantum like this. Traditionally, energy is continuous and cannot be measured in discrete units like 1, 2, or 3. For instance, when we measure the length of an object, we can be precise to, say, 1.259264819 meters. However, many objects in the objective world can only be measured in whole units, not in decimal points. For example, if you count the number of sheep in a pen, you can't say there are 13.483256 sheep. You can only say there are 13 or 14 sheep, not 0.483256 sheep. When scientists discovered that light exhibits both particle and wave properties, thus having wave-particle duality, Max Planck found that the flow of electromagnetic energy is not continuous but occurs in discrete packets. He coined the term quantum to measure this energy packet. When sunlight shines on a metal plate, photons can knock electrons out of the metal plate, creating a flow of electrons, which forms an electric current. This phenomenon is known as the photoelectric effect. In the photoelectric effect, electrons are not excited by the intensity of light, but by the frequency of photons. Einstein discovered the particle nature of light, and the smallest unit for measuring the energy of photons is called a quantum. This wave-particle duality of light overturned traditional understanding, and the need to describe this phenomenon with concepts beyond traditional cognition led to the birth of quantum mechanics. Thus, Newtonian mechanics became known as classical mechanics, and the principles that classical mechanics cannot explain became known as quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics explains the laws of motion of microscopic matter and represents a major leap in human cognition beyond classical mechanics. So, what is the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics? The essence of the uncertainty principle is, strictly speaking, the principle of indeterminacy principle. Uncertainty and indeterminacy are two completely different concepts. Uncertainty implies almost negation, while indeterminacy neither affirms nor denies. The meaning of the uncertainty principle is that if the position of a microscopic particle can be determined, then its momentum, such as velocity, is difficult to determine, i.e., uncertain. Conversely, if the momentum, such as velocity, of a particle can be accurately measured, then the position of the particle is difficult to determine or uncertain. In classical mechanics, knowing the velocity and time allows for the accurate determination of position. However, in quantum mechanics, even if the velocity and time are known, the position cannot be determined, and the more accurate the velocity and time values, the more difficult it is to determine the position. Photons or electrons, are they appearing in wave form or particle form? This is difficult to determine because they are in a superposition state. Only when an observer appears will they present a certain fixed form. Without an observer, it's difficult to determine whether they are particles or waves. In order to explain and resolve this dilemma, the concept of Schrödinger's cat was born. The cat locked in a sealed box could be alive or dead. It's impossible to determine whether the cat is alive or dead before opening the box. Only when an observer opens the box can the cat's state be determined. Before it's determined, it can be said that the cat in the box is both alive and dead. Schrödinger believed that the cat is either dead or alive. The state of being both dead and alive does not exist. Therefore, Schrödinger denied the superposition state of being both dead and alive. Based on this, an American scientist introduced the concept of parallel universes. He believed that the superposition state does not exist at all, not because the observer's presence collapses the superposition state, but because it splits. Seeing the cat alive is in one real world, while seeing the cat dead is in another real world. The wave-particle duality principle is the same. In one real world, the electron you see is in wave state, while in another real world, the electron you see is in particle state. Or it can be said that one person sees the cat as dead, while another person sees it as alive. Who is wrong? Neither, because the two people are in different worlds, and the forms of the macrocosm they see are different. Having understood Brownian motion, quantum mechanics, and the uncertainty principle, let's reevaluate the validity of the law I propose that all our efforts and contributions are to accumulate merits for ourselves. Firstly, the irregular movement of molecules in the microscopic world cannot describe the motion of substances in the macroscopic world. In the macroscopic world, Newton's classical mechanics is still correct. If I drive home from 300 kilometers away, maintaining a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, then I can arrive home in 3 hours. This is definite, not uncertain. 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. This is definite, not uncertain. The irregular molecular movement we observe under the microscope is based on the premise that all molecules involved in the movement have equal values and the same molecular weight. Because the molecular weights are equal, when they collide with each other, they still follow Newtonian mechanics, that is, the law of equal and opposite action and reaction forces. So, their movements always appear irregular. But when one of the molecules has a molecular weight much greater than the surrounding molecules, as long as it determines a direction of motion, the other molecules cannot stop it. Its movement is no longer irregular, but regular towards one direction. Even a piece of iron, as long as strong positive and negative currents are applied to both ends, the electrons in the iron with irregular movement will immediately move uniformly in the same direction. If you put an iron rod into a coil and pass an electric current through the coil, the iron rod will be magnetized. From then on, the molecules with irregular movement in the iron rod will move uniformly towards the same direction. Therefore, it can be known that the irregular movement of particles in the microscopic world cannot overthrow the law that all our efforts and contributions are to accumulate merits for ourselves. At a hub railway station with a four-directional railway network, we often see crowds of people surging and passengers flowing endlessly in the railway station. On the surface, these people seem to be moving irregularly, but in fact, each person is walking towards their destination amidst the collision of the crowd. Secondly, let's look at quantum. Perhaps many people equate quantum with molecules, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrinos, and so on. Molecules, atoms, electrons, etc. are all particles, a kind of substance. While quantum is a unit of measurement of energy for a particle, it is not matter. Therefore, it is wrong to use quantum to measure or compare human thoughts, which is a conceptual error. The uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics only applies to the movement forms of particles in the microscopic world. Although the human body is composed of electrons, which exhibit wave-particle duality, it's essential to recognize that graphite and diamond, both consisting of carbon atoms, have vastly different properties. Therefore, we cannot infer the characteristics of diamond based on those of graphite. In other words, we cannot treat the lead core of a pencil as if it were a diamond. The future of every individual can be predicted and determined. When we look at the vast crowd in human society, it resembles the irregular movement of molecules under a microscope. For those who lack faith, have no definite life view, values, worldview, direction, or destination, their future is determined, that is, continuous reincarnation. In times of peace, if someone commits murder, then his future is essentially determined, either going to prison or receiving the death penalty. If someone frequents the casino every day, although the roulette wheel in the casino appears to be a random event, what can be determined is that eventually, those who participate in gambling will lose everything they have. If an official frequently accepts bribes, it can be determined that he will eventually be imprisoned. If someone is lazy and very selfish, it can be determined that they will lack clothing and suffer from poverty. When I plant a watermelon seed, it can be determined that watermelon seedlings will grow, watermelon vines will grow, and eventually, watermelons will be harvested. It is impossible to use the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics to say, it's uncertain. Maybe roses will grow, and no fruit will be harvested. So, who can escape the consequences of their actions and words? The uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics is fundamentally inapplicable to the issue of human destiny. Laozi's saying divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. With big meshes, yet letting nothing slip through, is absolutely a law of the universe. To understand the cause of past lives, look at what you are experiencing in this life. To know the consequences of future lives, look at what you are doing in this life. This simple statement holds profound philosophical insight into life. Now let's look at the future of Chanyuan celestials. Before becoming Chanyuan celestials, they can be said to be moving irregularly, but when I guide everyone onto the Tao of the greatest creator and the way of life Chanyuan towards the celestial island's continent, it's like magnetizing the iron rod. I continuously infuse spiritual and mental energy, so all electrons in the magnetized iron rod move uniformly towards one direction, and the ultimate result of the movement must be reaching the celestial island's continent. I shout loudly in the crowd, "Who's going to South Africa? Those who want to go to South Africa, follow me." So, some people say, "I want to go to South Africa." So, I start processing visas for South Africa, buying tickets to South Africa, packing necessary luggage, and pre-booking hotel rooms in South Africa for everyone. Can these people ultimately reach South Africa? We cannot use the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics to say, who knows? They might end up in the UK instead. Are the Chanyuan celestials undergoing Brownian motion? Or is their future destination uncertain? 生命禅院对佛祖上帝不献祭. Life at Chanyuan does not sacrifice to the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. Xuefeng, January 5, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyo. If I cut off your finger and solemnly offer it to you as a sacrifice, would you accept my offering? Everything in the world belongs to the greatest creator. All life in nature is part of the greatest creator. Offering back what belongs to the greatest creator is akin to cutting off his toes and presenting them to him. Would the greatest creator be willing to accept that? Offering life as a sacrifice to the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, is not reverence for the greatest creator. Instead, it is blasphemy against him. At some point in history, humans sacrificed other humans to spirits, burning them alive as offerings. That was an ignorant and cruel sacrifice. Modern society has gradually entered a civilized era, so sacrificing living humans is no longer practiced. However, when we slaughter cattle, sheep, chickens, and ducks as offerings to the spirits, the form has changed but the essence remains the same. This practice is not acceptable. The ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, would never accept expressions of reverence, respect, and love from us through killing lives. To express reverence, respect, and love for him, we should do so by revering and protecting nature and all life, not through sacrificial offerings. Who enjoys receiving sacrifices from people the most? The answer is demons and monsters. If you don't understand this truth, just take a look at Journey to the West. In Journey to the West, demons and monsters most enjoy people expressing fear, terror, and begging for mercy through sacrifices, and the best offerings are virgin boys and girls. 生命禅院不以男女姓氏评价人品. Life at Chanyuan does not judge a person's character based on their sexual activities. Xuefeng, January 5, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyo. Personal freedom is a universal value, and individuals have the right to decide how to use their own bodies. In matters of sexual activity, as long as it is consensual and does not harm others or society, it is considered a personal matter and a personal freedom. Life Genuine does not assess a person's character based on their sexual act. Preaching. 爱是一种状态. Love is a state of being. Xuefeng. From ancient times, I love you has been a beautiful song which has been unchanged throughout the ages. People become fascinated, infatuated, and enjoyed crazy bliss when hearing, I love you. Today, I finally know that I love you is a hallucination, the unpredictable clouds, a colorful bubble, and an anesthetic. Love is a state, like the constantly shining sun, the blooming peony, the roaring river, and the bright stars twinkling in the night sky with all their luster. Love has no specific target, it is wordless, but if there are specific targets, it is not love. The sun shines down constantly on everything, but if there is a target, it is not the sun, but a searchlight, a torch, or a spotlight. Love is like the shining sun and the blooming flowers. It is a state. Neither the sun nor the flowers ever say, I love you. No matter whether anyone is watching and no matter whether the bees and butterflies come to gather nectar, the flowers always bloom on time. Love always brings warmth, auspiciousness, harmony, goodness, happiness, and positive energy, and is infinitely fascinating to all living beings. Love never shows coldness, madness, ugliness, worry, suffering, negative energy, or desperation. Love cannot hurt anyone. If love leads to pain, grief, suffering, hatred, disappointment, or desperation, it cannot be real love. Love can only be felt by love. It cannot be demanded or taken by force, nor by money, status, fame, or beauty. Love is totally free, it is priceless, needs nothing in return, and is unconditional, with neither responsibilities, obligations, nor other requirements. Love treats everyone the same. Beggars and billionaires, commoners and royalty. Love has no morals. Love has no system of values. Love lives in truth, kindness, beauty, and right, as well as in falseness, evil, ugliness, and wrong. The differences in the levels of love between different living beings are in the contents of love's energy. The more love a living being has, the higher its level is. The less love it has, the lower its level is. This is the same as the differences of kerosene lamps, electric lamps, and the sun. They are shining different lights. The kerosene lamp can only illuminate one room in a house, and the electric lamp can illuminate a yard, but the sun can illuminate a much larger area. The light of the Buddha can spread everywhere, but the light of human beings can only spread in limited regions. This is the difference between Buddhas and people. So, we understand that those who love everything and live for the benefit of all living beings are Buddhas. Those who only love and think about themselves are devils. Those who love and live for only one person or several people are animals. And those who only love and live for a group of people are human beings. According to this, we know that those who selfishly love themselves are the offsprings of devils. Those who only love one person or thing, such as within monogamous marriage, are the lowest level of animals. Those who love their families are the lowest level of human beings, and those who love their own nations, religions, organizations, and political parties are human beings, but those who live for the benefit of all living beings regardless of their own interests are more than human beings. They are bodhisattvas, angels, and Buddhas. Human beings are not worthy of speaking the word love. Love is the patent of bodhisattvas, angels, and Buddhas. Love is profaned when one person says, I love you, to another. Love is a non-material existence. Only those who have love for themselves can feel love. You will never feel love if you do not have love within yourself. Only if you have eyes can you see the eyes of other lives. Only if you are not colorblind can you see how colorful the world is. Those people with the greatest love will become super celestial beings. The greatest love is that you, yourself, completely become love. The greatest creator is love. Only by making ourselves become love can we enter the secret garden of the greatest creator, the celestial island continent of the Elysium world. 天堂在哪里? Where is heaven? Xuefeng. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. Heaven, or the kingdom of heaven, is the general term for the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium celestial islands continent. Heaven is where those lives' non-material structures are more perfect than human ones. The greatest characteristic of heaven is the amount of freedom of life. Freedom from the issues of food, clothing, shelter, transportation, disease, war, and sudden disaster. The thousand-year world is a celestial body 960 light years away from the Earth. 10 times the size of the Earth, it is currently inhabited by approximately 200 million people. As the basic lifespans of celestial beings on this planet are about 1,000 Earth years, it is called the thousand-year world. More details are available in Chapter 14 of The Thousand-Year World, the non-material world. The 10,000-year world is a beautiful celestial body located 3,480 light years from the Earth. It is 16 times bigger than the Earth and is equidistant from 16 suns which surround it. About 100 million celestial beings live there with similar basic characteristics as the land's celestial beings described in Taoism. They enjoy lifespans of about 35,000 Earth years, and it is thusly called the 10,000-year world. More details are available in Chapter 14 of The 10,000-Year World, the non-material world. The Elysium world is the general term for the Paradise universe. We inhabit a small place that is called the Earth universe. The Paradise universe is called this in relation to other universes. The structure of the Paradise universe is a Taiji ellipsoid which is called a low-rotary galaxy. Low-rotary galaxies contain 3,000 rotary river galaxies which each contain 3,000 Milky Way-type galaxies, and each Milky Way-type system contains 3,000 solar systems. In other words, the Elysium world is composed of 3,000 macro worlds, 9 million medium worlds, and 27 billion small worlds like the Earth. The Elysium world is a non-material existence. If the world on which we live were the front side of a sheet of paper, then the Elysium world would be the reverse side and we would never have access to it unless we could pass through it and enter the back. The place where humans live is also where the Elysium world exists, for the Earth is within the realm of the Elysium world. The Elysium world has 10 continents: the Lotus continent, the Borneo continent, the Kasayapa continent, the Ingwu continent, the Amida Buddha continent, the Celestial Islands continent, the Three Worlds, the Two-Way continent, the Moon Temple continent, the Gods continent, the Supreme Authentic Wisdom continent. The Celestial Islands continent is one of the continents of the Elysium world. These 10 continents are also called the Pure Land or the Buddha Land. Refer to the Elysium word within the non-material world. The place to which Life-Changyuan guides Changyuan celestials toward is the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. It has 80 billion islands. Apart from the 30 billion islands that have been homesteaded by celestial beings, the remaining 50 billion islands are currently uninhabited. The celestial beings in the Elysium Celestial Islands continent are called super-celestial beings, or Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When people are asked where heaven and hell are, many of them answer that heaven and hell are in people's hearts. This is only half true because the idea is that the whole of the universe depends on the mind and all rules depend on cognition. The environment is created and generated by the mind, and everyone's closest friends and dearest relatives are in their minds, are only half true. Heaven and hell would still exist if people did not think about them, just as people's relatives who live far away would not disappear if they did, and they would still exist even if they were not thought about or even forgotten. Absolute idealism can confuse people. Actually, it is easy to go to heaven, but it is extremely difficult to break our obsession. Many secrets seem very mysterious, but once they are pierced, they become clear and simple. 程序在运行. The program is running. Xuefeng. There is a saying, fishes are in the water, and humans are in the Tao. All things in the universe are running in the Tao. If we have difficulty understanding the elusive Tao, let me make it simple. We can also call it program. So the above saying could be, fishes are in the water and humans are in the program. And all things in the universe are running in the program. What is program? In Chinese, program is 程序. 程 means the rule, law, pattern, and equation. 序 means sequence and order. Program, 程序, means the order of formation, development, change, and evolution of a thing according to established rules. The computer we use is the best example of program. We can somehow say that a computer is a program. To use a computer, we need to follow programs. Whoever is good at programming is a computer expert. Hackers are computer experts who can break, interrupt, and change computer programs. Computer programs are designed by human beings, while the program of the universe is designed by the greatest creator. The seasonal order of spring, summer, autumn, and winter in some areas of the earth is a program. The order of seasons is strictly changing according to the program. Spring comes after winter, and winter comes after autumn. They have been in that order for thousands of years. The process of a human body changes in the order of a fetus, baby, toddler, child, teenager, adult, and senior is also an established program. Human beings have to go through this process, which is out of their control. The germination, growth, flowering, fruiting, and withering of a plant is also a program. The law of causality, reap what you sow, is also an established program. You will not reap banana if you sow melon, and you will not reap cherry if you sow bean. What goes around comes around. The treacherous are cheated by the treacherous, and the honest are appreciated by the honest. If you pursue Buddhahood, you attain Buddhahood, and if you admire the beast, you acquire the nature of the beast. If you do not give freedom to others, you will not get freedom yourself. If you want to control others, you will be controlled. Furtiveness and deceit will make you a ghost and lead you to hell, while integrity and good merits will make you a celestial and lead you to heaven. This is also a program. When a man reaches a certain age, facial, armpit, and pubic hair start to grow. When a woman reaches a certain age, she starts to have menses. When a child is born, the mother begins to lactate. When a woman reaches menopause, she starts to have fewer and fewer menses until they stop. It is a biological program. The traditional family is also a program. When one gets married, he or she has to live according to the family program, which is beyond their control. Countries are programs. When one becomes a citizen of a country, he or she must involuntarily follow the country's program. If there is no external force, things will run around and around according to the rules of the program. Life will reincarnate according to the set program. To avoid constraints of the program, there must be an external force, without which the development of things will not change the track. It is just like a man is not able to make his feet leave the ground by dragging his hair. The external force is not necessarily a mechanical force. An accident, a phenomenon, a book, a story, and a sentence, even an insect, a hairstyle, a blade of grass, or an action could become the force. As long as it is able to change the existing program, no matter how small the changes are, it is an external force. The teachings of Jesus Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, Prophet Muhammad, and Confucius are very strong external forces. How many programs are there in the universe? There are numerous. There is the program governing the movements of planets, the program of society's development, and the program of life changes. Each space has its own program. Each plant and animal has their own growing program. There are master programs and subprograms. There are long-term programs, short-term programs, etc. Programs are very rigorous. While they are also layered and closely related, they are causes and effects and are flexible to change. The master program is normally unchangeable, while subprograms are changeable. For example, it is difficult to change the master program of birth, growth, aging, and death of a human, while things like short-term depression can be changed by external forces such as inspiring words or actions. The change of the master program of how hair grows is very difficult, but the hairstyle can be changed easily. The master program of the nature of life is almost impossible to change, but the direction of life can be changed. You cannot touch a pitch and not be mucked. Without the external force, the track of life will not change. Life follows its trail. Once there is an external force, the track of life changes. A single conversation across the table with a wise man is worth 10 years of studying books. One takes the way of saints when influenced by a saint, and one takes the way of robbers when influenced by a robber. A butcher becomes a Buddha the moment he drops his cleaver. A thought and an idea can change one's destiny. Whichever direction you choose at an intersection without a sign, the corresponding program starts to work. For example, at the intersection of 4 roads, the first road leads to hell, the second to the human world, the third to the Buddha world, and the fourth to the celestial world. Where there is no road sign, our choice activates the corresponding program and it will lead us to a destination unless we change the route midway. All programs are predefined, but human beings can transfer from one program to another. When a man exits one program, he enters another. It is impossible to enter an area that is not within a program. Human beings can only enter 12 programs, and the best and most free life program is the program of the Elysium world. When one life possesses the consciousness of a human being, he lives in the program of the human world and will therefore be constrained by the limits of the program. Once a life possesses the consciousness of a celestial being, his living program starts to slowly transfer to the program of the Elysium world, which means he has changed his life track. All programs are already designed, and many of them are hidden programs. Once conditions are met, any incident will activate the program. It is just like a landmine. It explodes when you step on it, but as long as it is not touched, it will remain hidden underground. It is also like drinking potassium cyanide. You will immediately feel terrible in your organs, foam at the mouth, and quickly bleed to death. When conditions are not ripe, the program will not activate. When the temperature is not warm enough, mosquitoes and flies will not revive and fly. When yin and yang do not meet each other, lightning and thunder will not fill the sky. Without proper humidity and temperature, seeds will not germinate. Before one has reached a certain stage of self-cultivation, he or she will not transform into a celestial being. One cannot enter into an oasis if he or she has not walked out from a desert. One cannot enter a new program if he or she does not leave the traditional family. One cannot enter heaven if he or she does not walk out of the human world. In short, these are predefined programs. When a program is activated, do not worry, for it will run automatically. It is just as a female egg will grow automatically once it is fertilized. We feed a child every day, so he will grow as well. In spring, if we spread seeds in the land, they will automatically germinate, flower, and fruit. It is the result as well as the power of the program. As long as we plant seeds, there will be fruits. This is how the program works. However, we must wait for the fruit to become ripe. We can get some fruits very quickly, while we need to wait more time to get others. And for some seeds, we need to wait a very long time to get their fruits. Peach fruits in 3 years and apricot in 4 years, while we need to wait 18 years to be able to enjoy the fruit of walnuts. Anxiety does no good. As a man sows, so he shall reap. We do not see the fruit, not because it is barren, but we shall see it when the time is right. By observing the current situation of humans in the society, we can know their past. By observing their current behaviors, we can forecast their future. If we do not see anything happen in 5 years, wait for another 5 years, and if still nothing happens, wait for 100 years. In a word, what goes around comes around. This is because the program is running and is not fortune-telling. We must trust programs and trust that as long as we give, we gain. We need to give first in order to gain. If we give others love, we will gain a beautiful life, future, or something else. If we cheat others, or take a bribe of $100,000, we get many temporary benefits, but in the future, we might need to pay the price of a limb, face a calamity, or reincarnate to an animal to pay our debts. Therefore, any behavior that tries to take advantage of others is foolish, cheating and lying is stupid, and being opportunistic is short-sighted. Throw a long line to catch a big fish. Being diligent on self-cultivation, it is possible to achieve the life level of a celestial being. Do not care that you get a return when you are committed to something. Just make your contribution wholeheartedly and ask not for gain. As long as you give, you will gain. This is because the program is running. 穷人进不了天堂. The poor cannot enter into heaven. Xuefeng. Translated by Treasure and edited by Care. This is a cruel reality because even Jesus Christ said, "It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." We take it for granted that the kingdom of God belongs to the poor. However, after more than 10 years of harvesting the ripe crops, I have found that the poor cannot enter into heaven. The most distinctive feature of the poor is that they take, while that of the rich is that they give. A person who takes constantly is continuously sinning, accumulating debt, and digging deeper into debt. According to the law of the gravitation of life and the rules of the sum of positive and negative energies always equal 0, The poor will have to stay within the 6 great divisions in the wheel of karma without any hope of entering heaven. Heaven belongs to the rich and hell belongs to the poor. This fact sounds so miserable that I feel unkind saying it or even thinking it. It is the same as putting a knife into the hearts of the poor as their blood pours out. However, not telling the truth would mean that I, Xuefeng, am a big liar. And as those who conceal the truth would certainly go straight to hell. So who are the rich and who are the poor? Those who give wealth to others, to society, and to nature without incurring debts are rich, but those who constantly take from others, from society, and from nature while incurring debts are poor. What is wealth? What others, society, and nature need is wealth. Wealth is defined as soul wealth, spiritual wealth, and material wealth. All that can bring others' minds peace, serenity, and calmness are soul wealth. All that can encourage and cheer others on, or that can bring them passionate enthusiasm of life are spiritual wealth, and all that can offer the conveniences of food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, aging, illness, and death are material wealth. As long as you owe a debt and continue to take, you will be among the poor, but as long as you are not in debt and continue to give, you will be among the rich. Debt contains 3 aspects. Economic debt, to own others' money, including bank loans which have not been returned, to borrow others' things without returning them or to damage them without compensating their owners, to demolish others' houses without compensating their owners, to receive others' services or treats but not return or repay them, and so on are what we call economic debt. Emotional debt, care from grandparents, love and care received from childhood by our parents, concern and care from siblings, help from friends, relatives, and neighbors, guidance from superiors, and the cooperation of workmates, education and guidance from masters and teachers, care and consideration from lovers and spouses, special filial piety from children, and similar ties are all forms of emotional debt. Spiritual debt, the greatest Creator's grace, such as the enjoyment of the sun, the air, and the water, the pleasure to experience the splendid kaleidoscopic world, the spiritual teachings and the guidance of God, Buddha, celestial beings, and many saints and sages are all spiritual debts. Referring to the 3 types of debt above, you will easily know whether you are rich or poor. Isa billionaire rich. This is hard to say. Is a farmer in a distant village poor? This is equally hard to say. A billionaire who is in debt and keeps taking is poor, but a farmer with no debts and who is able to give themselves to others, society, and nature is rich. There are many ways to devote oneself to others, society, and nature. Whether it is materialistically, intellectually, or ideologically, or spiritually, as long as they give to others, to society, and to nature, that is devotion and dedication. To give a sweet smile is devotion, as are making others happy and joyous, and bringing people hope and pleasure is devotion to society, and protecting nature from damage is devotion to nature. But the most valuable and significant of all types of giving is what Buddha Sakyamuni called formless almsgiving. In conclusion, those who have given more than they have taken will enter heaven. Those who have taken more than their share of blessings will go to hell. Those who have given equally to what they have taken will continue their reincarnations into the mortal world. Who can give and pay dedications and devotions effectively? Only the rich, so heaven is theirs. The poor have nothing to give or pay back for their poverty, so they cannot go to the heaven, but only fall toward reincarnating into the animal level. All the poor must awake and watch. 内在结构决定一切. Internal structure is what matters. Xuefeng. The nature and function of things are determined by their internal structures. Sugar is sweet while tea is bitter, and this is decided by their structure, not by people. The price of a 1 carat, 0.2 g, diamond is 14,000 RMB yuan, but the price of an ounce of gold is only about 10,270 RMB yuan. That is to say that 1 carat of gold costs 70 renminbi yuan. The price difference between diamonds and gold is 200:1. The fundamental reason lies in the different internal structures of the two. The value of 1 carat of common stone is too small to measure. The greatest creator, gods and Buddha, angels, bodhisattvas, celestial beings, devils, demons, monsters, mortals, evil spirits, animals, and other life are quite different from one another. And the reason is also because of their different internal structures. Celestials, saints, sages, mortals, laities, laymen, and ignorant people are all humans. But they are unlike each other because each has a different internal structure. It is as with mushrooms that some are nutritious and will feed you, but some others are poisonous and will sicken or kill you. This too is because of their different internal structures. From this we can understand that the role a person plays, the responsibilities that they assume, and the accomplishments that they achieve are completely determined by their internal structure and not by others or by society. Gems are inlaid into crowns, while cobblestones are not. Thus we further understand that it is wrong to envy or admire others, or to blame social injustice. In any case, we should neither complain, resent, nor loathe having a low social status or position. This is called being content in poverty and devoted to spiritual matters. Since we understand that all things are determined by internal structures, we should then make efforts to change and perfect our own internal structures rather than flattering or currying favor with others, using connections for special treatment, envying and admiring others, complaining and resenting others or our society, seeking magic power or skills, seeking shortcuts or begging for mercy and help, blaming or accusing others for our bad luck, being opportunistic, or finding secrets to success. Peaches and plums do not talk, but people come to pick them. The fragrance of flowers attract butterflies. Peonies do not assume their beauty, but people naturally sing songs about them. No matter how flies and mosquitoes dress themselves, people will still detest them. Beggars cannot have refined tastes. Dog meat is not to be served at feasts. Those who lack elegance and good etiquette are not presentable. In short, the internal structure of each thing determines its social role and status. At this point, if someone still complains about heaven and earth or blames others or society for their ill treatment or bad luck in life, or finds excuses and reasons to blame others rather than themselves for their failures, then they would have to be either ignorant or just plain stupid. Are you not satisfied with your current situation? Do not find external excuses and reasons, but make sure to look for source causes from your own internal structure. The internal structures of things are determined by their quality. Taking people, for example, good intrinsic qualities are marked with diligence, kindness, purity, honesty, integrity, modesty, and open-mindedness, whereas bad qualities are shown as jealousy, blame, selfishness, greed, laziness, arrogance, dishonesty, and narrow-mindedness. A person who does not have good quality can never be smooth and refined no matter how they struggle, be accomplished in their career, or sail easily through life. They may enjoy good fortune for brief times, but not for very long. People who are moving toward heaven through self-refinery and self-improvement should never waste valuable time and energy on changing the external world or on changing their external appearance. They should invest their time and energy into improving and perfecting the non-material structures of their lives and on developing good quality. If their quality is not excellent and their structure is not perfect, then they can never reach heaven. It is the same as with a hard rock. Try as it may, it will never be cherished and valued by others. It must alter its internal structure in order to be valued and loved as a treasure and be applied in the most eye-striking and noble places. 内在结构决定一切. Internal structure is what matters. Xuefeng. The nature and function of things are determined by their internal structures. Sugar is sweet while tea is bitter, and this is decided by their structure, not by people. The price of a 1 carat, 0.2 g, diamond is 14,000 RMB yuan, but the price of an ounce of gold is only about 10,270 RMB yuan. That is to say that 1 carat of gold costs 70 renminbi yuan. The price difference between diamonds and gold is 200:1. The fundamental reason lies in the different internal structures of the two. The value of 1 carat of common stone is too small to measure.